You can't rest it?
Can I put it here? Can you hear me, Vicky? Can you hear me, Vicky? Can you hear me, Alex?
Everybody's like,
I
this
can't,
guy
but
having a
just-
stroke. Why does he keep leaning to the back?
Lord.
They got somebody in the back and telling him what to say.
Just hold it.
I
Hold
don't
it.
want to hold it.
Yeah, don't hold it too phallically.
Very phallic.
Yeah,
it's
no,
very,
it's very
like...
phallic. I'm
That's
sorry.
how you need to hold it with both hands wrapped around. What the
Yeah, just don't hold it with both hands and look at anybody in the face.
Don't look at me in my eyes.
Don't do it now. You can do it with thumbnail though.
Yeah.
No, like this.
I mean, if you really don't feel comfortable, you could switch it, Kian, but up to you guys.
Kian would feel less comfortable.
All right. All right. It would be good for the sound. That's all I'm saying. Give me a mic test.
Testicles, 1, 2.
Nice. Mic test.
Jared's testicles, 1, 2.
Just one. Just one.
Just one.
Oh, I didn't know.
Have the second one removed,
I
y'all.
didn't know we were crossing those lines.
Y'all don't take
Alright.
it, Kelsey. Vicky, please don't make me look fat in this picture.
Seriously. Come on, Vicky.
All right, guys.
Decent old men here.
Here we go. If you want, you could use that. You don't have to. I'm just using it to monitor sound. Up to you.
I want to use it.
Will I hear
Yeah,
better
you want to
with
use it? Yeah.
Actually, especially because you have the more sensitive mic, you can hear yourself.
Yeah, actually, that makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, I like it.
Test.
Yeah.
Test.
Sorry?
Test,
It's nice, right?
Test. This is nice. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, fellas. Welcome to the Gyaff. Thanks for coming. So I always like to push the limits of what I do, and I think this is really a make or break for me. So thank you for being my litmus test.
This is your maker.
Sorry, we're the make or break or the Gyaff is make or break?
You guys.
Oh, well then, sorry, buddy. Broken.
It's been nice.
We had a good run.
Yeah, we had a good run. It's good to end that
I like
number.
to. I like to be the one just after Sister Marie.
No, you're not. You're definitely not anywhere near Sister Marie.
Sister Marie's a shotter, bro. Like,
She's
It was great.
fantastic.
It was great.
but
Yo,
don't you ever find like headmistresses are always headmistresses? Like, I'm still very much intimidated.
Oh, 100%.
She's not even my headmistress, Bertrand. She's just a headmistress.
Yeah, but actually, when she was on, I just remembered being like, well, I've always had massive respect for her. So actually, her coming on was just such a full circle moment for me. It was nice, man. It was nice, and again, nothing but respect for her and what she's done. She's like leaving a massive legacy, big shoes to fill.
I went to pick up my daughter in school yesterday, and she was there. And we just coincidentally ran into each other, and I said, I got a chance to watch your interview with Alex. I said it was so interesting. She's like, yeah, I'm not really into that kind of thing, but I was happy to do it with Alex. He's really great and so on. And then I was like, oh, well, I'm actually on it tomorrow. And this lady looked at me dead in my eyes with the most disappointment I've ever seen on somebody's face. Like, I don't know how I've been associated with that now that you're there. Like, I feel like
Really waters
it
it
held
down,
some
huh?
sort of standard.
Yeah.
Clearly not. That was the look I got. And then she's like, okay, I'll see if I can listen. And then just kind of walked off like, coming.
I like seeing her standing in the parking lot. You can't park there.
Oh yeah, but another big thing is what's been a generational trauma for a lot of people is walking on the grass. Can't do that at all.
All right.
Yeah.
Still.
Don't mess up the grass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why, Alex? I went to public school here. I went to Margaret's, and then I went to Bishop's. Then I finished off 2 years at Nations. But I had the pleasure of, not the pleasure, but the privilege of working with some of the best educators this country ever had. Primary school was Jenny Cumbadge, who went on to be head of Uncensored. I don't know if she's still in that position. Fourth standard was Shirley Green. I don't know if you all know Miss Green Lessons. Bishop's.
You were significantly older than us.
But the point I'm trying to make here is that y'all wouldn't know of these educators because these were the last of the British trained teachers that we had here, and a lot of them migrated or were recruited by countries like Rwanda and Botswana.
Really?
Not even first world developed countries. It was developing countries that came here, and they took a lot of teachers, a lot of doctors, a lot of nurses, a lot of public servants left. And so, in terms of the caliber of teaching in the public schools, it's we had a good run. We had some QC bishops, Roses, Saints had some fantastic educators, and they either aged out or they moved. And that is a void. You think Sister Marie's a void, brother?
Yeah. Feels like human capital has been our biggest export for a long time.
Yeah,
But
that's uncool, You said the only thing Guyanese can put cocaine in is the national anthem. You saw the thing
I'm
the
sure
other
there's
day with
somewhere
the
to fit it,
prawns?
though. I'm sure there's somewhere to fit it.
They found 40 kilograms of cocaine in prawns at JFK.
Oh, yeah,
Prawns.
yeah, yeah.
Prawns.
We're in prawns.
We're in prawns?
Like, we're in the prawns. You just cut the prawn open.
I think it was just in the packet. I think he just
freeze
kind of froze the
prawns
prawns
over
with it.
the
Yeah.
brick.
Oh.
So if you open the packet, you see frozen prawns, and nobody can go in and bust into frozen prawns to find anything except.
He's like,
Everyone here.
Well, if you know
Yeah.
anything about
But-
freezing
but-
cocaine, you'd know.
I was just about
the
to
prawns
say, everyone here
around.
is like staring at Jared, like, how do you know so much about muling drugs?
I've heard,
It's on television,
no,
man. That
but
was,
they've done a lot of different ways here. I remember a time I heard they put it in like the packing popcorn, you know,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
It's like-
packing chips.
every
They've,
single day.
they've put them in growing cabbage, little parcels in growing cabbage, so the cabbage grows up around the.
Yeah. That's another cool one because pumpkin does that too.
Yeah.
So if you cut a pumpkin, a hole in the pumpkin, and then you can put whatever you want inside, and you put the.
Tell us more.
I'm more versed in agriculture work.
How big is this
I
thing?
just heard.
Whole about-
How big is the hole? Anyways, it eventually, if you put the thing back on, like the piece, it eventually like heals itself. Kind of like
when you're
we
done
heal.
with the pumpkin, you must replace the. Holiday section.
yeah. Anyway, interesting. Glad. It's weird that they. I don't know how much cocaine moves through Guyana anymore, but they definitely find a lot of marijuana. That's for sure.
No, but hold on. Just a touch on the cocaine part. Yes, marijuana, absolutely. But I mean, how long ago was it that they had the submarines that were found in Essequibo? I mean, that couldn't have been a couple of years ago. How much could have changed?
Yeah. Well,
Don't get me wrong. I know the guys.
I just in the news I see a lot
Yeah.
more marijuana bus. Canoes like they permanently have their hands full. But I think
with
it's-
marijuana.
With the marijuana,
Yeah.
it seems.
Marijuana's a class 1 drug in this country. I mean, if
let's talk about
you're
it.
caught with
I like it.
if you're caught with more than
I think it's more than 30 grams. I think.
But that's what's decriminalized. It's
But that's
not
even
legalized.
more.
Yeah, yeah.
It's decriminalized, and there's
I know,
a big
I
difference
know.
there.
Yeah, because you're still gonna go and you're still gonna get charged. You're still gonna go to court,
Yeah.
even if found with 1 ounce. And people are missing that, right? Because they stand up, and it's happened so much already. They're like, "Oh, I'm allowed to use this," and no, you're not, because they're still gonna send you to court. And the only thing that's changed is that the court is either going to give you community service or counseling. I think those are the two areas.
But it's BS because, I mean, at any given point in time, in any day in Georgetown, you can go into public places and there's people very openly smoking weed. I mean, I was dropping Jen into school. Homeboy on his motorbike first thing in the morning got a big ass joint in his mouth. And he's
Yeah, I see that every day.
rolling through
Actually,
and-
driving myself.
And so you see that. So you see the daily consumption, people doing it very, very brazenly. And I think there's a conversation to be had about the enforcement of the law on the ground by the city police, city constabulary, Georgetown police in terms of enforcing those types of laws. But, you've got Kanu on one hand burning down fields, and then on the other hand, you've got very, very political rallies, concerts, all of these places, and everybody's smoking weed very openly. So, where's the disconnect in the middle? Like, why are you demonizing the farmers who make little or nothing on their crop because it's a cash crop? But then the distribution end on the ground, no one's attacking that. Why haven't we ever found the bricks in a house, the distribution houses and stuff like that? Anyway, not that I'm saying to go after the distributors. I'm just saying that it's kind of BS to attack the farmers.
I think it's both sides, though. I mean, even up to today, I think, there was an article in the news about them finding, I think it was somebody in South or something, or some motorbike man with, 100 grams of marijuana, and it's in the news all the time, and it's packaged, and they find it in a car trunk the other day. Every now and again they find it. So I think the distribution is just as controlled, or at least attempted to, as the farmers. Yeah, I just think what blows it out of proportion is when the farmers get caught and it's burned. It's like, $100 million worth of marijuana because, well, it's the whole farm, right? And then when you hear those numbers, that's a street value, obviously.
Yeah.
So the guys that are caught, the distributors, they're just caught with, a couple parcels. So it's not as, oh my God, what are you doing with all this marijuana? But,
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw it, but I did talk briefly with Sherrod about this the other day. And he seemed very open to the idea of decriminalizing. And I think a lot of politicians are. But what do you think will be the challenge if it were to be decriminalized in Guyana. We don't even have to legalize it. Like, I'm not saying, have people like selling it, but like Trinidad, you're allowed to have it, a certain amount on you. You're allowed to grow your own plant for personal use.
But,
Yeah. But that way you could still, Kanu is still effective in doing what they're doing, but then you're not sort of throwing a man in jail for smoking a J on the road. You know what I mean?
So what's the question? So what do you want to know?
Why are we not, like, what is the challenge of doing that? I mean, nobody's saying go and pursue the economy of marijuana. It's just decriminalizing, allowing people to use it recreationally, like they drink alcohol, have a very small amount on you, and you're not allowed to sell.
But I'm going to go as far as saying, why not legalize it then? Because and let me tell you, I'm a big advocate for it. Because at the end of the day, as
well, there's massive market regulation if you legalize it. Like even in like Canada and the US, there's all these massive corporations or whatever, people with a ton of money come and just buy out everybody and then control the market. So,
business.
I mean,
But that's
whatever
on a,
you,
that's
however
on,
you
a,
want
that's
to look
on
at
a state basis. That's on a state by state basis. For instance, you can't purchase marijuana with a credit card. You can't go into the dispensary and use your credit card because that's federal. So you have to pay cash in the dispensaries, and the laws are made up state by state. So in terms of decriminalizing and legalizing, I think the answer to the question, I think, is we still have a very, very conservative voter base for either party in terms of, people, them buy a smoke dope, buy that serious thing. And they don't quite understand, I don't think they quite understand the product.
The science behind it.
And the fact that, we continue to glorify alcohol, and we continue to push alcohol, and we continue to celebrate alcohol. And, our friend yesterday has got her own stuff she's dealing with alcohol, and alcoholism is a massive problem in this country, and you're seeing drunk drivers every single day, but not a peep about alcohol abuse, but they're burning down these cannabis farms. Again, massive disconnect. Why isn't the same amount of attention or the same amount of resource being put towards alcohol?
Okay.
It's clearly a bigger problem, societal problem for sure.
When you say societal, I don't know, Jared just, in my opinion, hit the nail on the head. It was back down to the politicians worrying about their supporter base, right? And then that was down to a level of education.
Bananas.
Right? So at the end of the day,
Bananas.
I think we're going to explain to the audience just now what bananas mean so they can hear.
Alex.
No, and I just want to point out, I haven't mentioned politics once until you brought it up.
It's true. You
Oh,
can
he
split
brought
the
it
shot.
up.
No, you brought it up.
All right.
Nonetheless, what I'm saying to it is that connection straight into voter education and educated people in this country is why you have an issue with legalizing marijuana. So obviously the first one is, how much do people know about marijuana, right? And understanding that, well, is it that different from cigarettes and alcohol, right? You can come up with all the stigmas you want, et cetera, et cetera. We know people overdose on, alcohol poisoning. We know people, have their own addictions to cigarettes and alcohol. But yet, as we know, the symptoms and the after effects are the same as marijuana. So all this work has been done all over the world. Yes, Guyana is always, as we say, so far back in time. But then again, you step up and then you say, well, I just had this conversation today. Our big problem here is somebody said, you can't legalize it or else everyone will start using it. And I'm like, well, first of all, the people that want to use it are using it already.
Everyone wants to use it.
Secondly, is it not a situation now where it would be smarter to control it, to put laws in place to ensure that people are not overdoing it, that people are not like selling it on the black market, that it's not being imported illegally? I mean, there are so many more benefits now. If everyone is already using it that wants to use it, then why not just control it, especially if you know the science behind it? Right?
Do you think the argument, though, is valid that just because there's a significant part of the population that maybe is unemployed or doesn't have direct access to opportunity, that could really hamper like societal progress? And I know that's a simplified argument, but do you think it's plausible that for that reason, they might not want to add something else into society? Granted, like you said, the people that want to smoke are going to smoke. But to just have it open and legal or decriminalized, then it's like, it's really there. You know what I mean? and we do have like an addiction problem anyway. Like
Yeah, help me out with the question again. What was it?
that people who are like a reason for not decriminalizing or making legal is that people who are unemployed or not don't have access to opportunities which are now being made available. It gives them another reason to not work or not be productive and not be a productive member of society. Essentially, is that a valid argument?
No.
Okay.
If they're gonna use it, they're gonna use it anyway.
Because I feel like
legality right now-
lawmakers here at least they wouldn't think that way.
I don't think legality right now is one of the factors stopping anyone from using cannabis. I do believe that the demonizing of cannabis started in the 80s with pharmaceutical companies lobbying American lawmakers and European lawmakers. Remember Nancy? You don't remember Nancy Reagan, but there was a big drive against dope, against weed. There's no hope with dope, and get your kids off dope, and all of this. But at the same time, pharmaceutical companies are pushing their drugs that do the exact same thing that cannabis do, but they want you to use your drugs, and politicians have no issue with this. That if you're punting Adderall, bro, you're making millions. You know what I'm saying? And it has the same. It's more addictive, if I believe, than cannabis ever could be, and it is also the pills are gateway pills because you can only use a pill for so long before you start getting immune to it. You got to switch to another pill, and then the doctors say, "Well, hold on, maybe you should try another pill," and then sooner or later you've got a 14-year-old with a pill box daily for stuff they got to take for their personality, or cancer patients are taking these fentanyl. Was developed for cancer patients. It was developed for terrible pain. And the types of drugs that pharmaceutical companies are able to produce these days, they produce them in forms of lollipops, little sugar pills. They're very attractive for cancer patients. They're doing
Really?
that. Whereas there are strains of cannabis that have the exact same properties if bred properly. What's terrifying about cannabis here in Guyana is that you don't know what the hell you're getting. You don't know what strain you're getting. Every different strain has different properties and it affects your brain differently. I don't think any strain affects two brains the same way. So when you've got these boys in Burbies growing bush from seeds they got wherever, and they're cross-pollinating from other seeds that they got wherever, brother man, you don't know what you're smoking. You could be smoking uppers, downers, and in-betweeners all in one blow. So, I mean, when you start to find people who consume a lot of cannabis having mood swings or mood disorders, you need to understand that's because they're putting a bunch of pills in their mouth and they don't know what pill they're taking. Now, when you legalize and regularize and start to grow proper strains that are set up for proper purposes, and this has been scientifically tested, well, then you're going to see a whole different side of cannabis, as opposed to just standing up in a bar and bunning a spliff. It's very
No,
very
I agree
different.
with that because especially with smokers know they have an idea of what they're smoking, right? So they will, if it's legal or decriminalized, they're going to push for the better stuff or the stuff that's not. I mean, I used to hear that, they'd cure it with embalming fluid and that kind of nonsense, So
They dry it.
yeah.
it. Yeah.
So, I mean,
As a drying agent.
you have no idea you're right. You don't know what's going in there.
The cannabis industry in Colorado, we were there a couple of years ago. I have a buddy who made, oh Lord, a shit ton of money in cannabis. He imports the indoor grow equipment. Colorado cold as ass, no? And not much sun. So he started importing indoor grow equipment for indoor orchids. You can't stop that. You can't stop the man from selling that. And he built up his very underground customer base. And when Colorado legalized, all roads led to him. All roads led to him. My boy sold his company 2 years into like a French company for millions, and he's banked, and he's my age, brother.
When preparation meets opportunity.
Boy,
Don't do drugs. Just become a drug dealer.
No, but I mean, just having that foresight in a sector, it could have gone either way for him. He was making money.
Jail or millionaire? That was the two
You
options.
can't go to jail if you're selling grow equipment. You can't go to jail if you're selling lights.
Isn't that the
if you're
code of a
selling-
drug deal anyway? Jail or millionaire.
There you
So
AIDS or baby. Cut that.
go. Oh my God! Please cut that from the clip.
anyway,
The condom argument.
Remember we were talking about your viewership decreasing?
I know.
It's gone now.
No,
The
I
other
just told
10
him,
people
don't
have
do the
just
show
left.
live. Just don't do it live.
They're already writing the letter to Starbucks News as we speak.
Yeah, the Gyaff gone off
You
the
had mentioned
chains.
you were impressed with Starbucks News' editorials.
Yeah, no. So Starbucks News has been having brilliant editorials lately.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, you can't talk.
You guys stop the nonsense.
I signed up.
Bananas.
I subscribed. Which
To
I
Starbucks
never
News?
thought I would
Gasp.
do. Just because the articles to me are like.
What? I'm not disagreeing. It's phenomenal.
No, it's phenomenal.
Everyone in this country needs to do it.
No, I know.
Absolutely.
I'm kind of pissed it took me so long. However, when I signed up recently, and not that I mind. It's good to get the perspective, but I find there have been a lot of I mean, I guess now is the time for criticism anyway, with the budget going and whatnot. So
Listen. I need to say something, okay? You guys can't talk about politics around me and then tell me I'm not allowed to speak about
no,
it.
I mean, but this is a side of you that people should see that isn't consumed by politics. So I think it's a good
I'm
thing.
not consumed. I'm happy to talk about anything
As
on
a
this
matter
show.
of fact, this-
We all want to talk
As a
about
matter of fact,
Talking
this is
about
actually
other stuff,
lightly
then you
good
can
back.
chime in, you know?
as a matter of fact, this is actually not a podcast. We're not rolling. This is an intervention.
intervention, apparently.
think you
Let's
have
see
a
him like
problem
boil
there.
up into anger.
This is all for like pretense.
How long could we keep him from talking about politics?
Not
He is
talking
there.
about this one over here screaming bananas every 2 seconds.
Have to be-
So, Alex, what do you think about the budget? Not you, Kian. Don't say nothing. I'm like, you guys are jerks.
No, but in all seriousness, though, back to the Starbucks News, they've been having some good editorials. I
Yeah.
know it's been pissing a lot of people off.
Yeah.
But I think they're, I mean,
Is that
genuinely,
Adam Harris? That's
No,
that's
no,
Country
no, no.
News.
It's actually Anand Prasad.
Anand Prasad, yeah.
yeah.
Maybe we should cut that. No, I'm joking. He's a good
He
guy.
published a letter that was written about our company years ago that, and Anand knows our family, and I was very, very disappointed that he would have published a letter that was published, which more or less suggested that our company was racially profiling customers. And anyway, it was the person in question that wrote the letter is a very popular, like one of these influencer people. And I believe it was part of a platform for a little more publicity. And I was a little disappointed in Starbucks News for printing the article without calling us first and kind of verifying the facts of what actually happened. But they went ahead and printed
Was it a letter or an editorial?
A letter was printed.
Then do they have to?
Of course you have to. You can't just let people write. But I could write a letter just accusing Kian of something like out of the blue, like
No,
just
but then,
randomly.
All the time.
but then you're open. Well, you can't.
Kian is a
Check the
bad
papers
example.
today.
Kian is a bad example. Sorry.
No,
Sorry,
you can't.
sorry.
You can, but
Kian
then,
is a bad example.
then you're left open to litigation.
But I think as professional journalists, they need to, even if it's a letter, even if it's a personal opinion, when it's person to person, when it's another individual involved or another business involved, you should really, weigh both sides of the issue. I mean, those things, when Starbucks News, when any newspaper prints anything, it goes on the internet for perpetuity, forever. It is there forever and ever and ever. If when somebody writes something about you, especially if it's in a respected periodical, people look back at that, and that's what people are doing every single day. Before people meet you, they Google you. They check you out. They see what you're up to. They say what you've been into, and when they see your name come up in an article that perhaps didn't weigh both sides of the issue, well, then they form a perspective and they form an opinion of you. Anyway, the facts of the matter is that kind of soured me with Starbucks News, and I'm not a customer. I'm not a reader.
Interesting. I kind of want to, now that you bring that up, and thank you for sharing, I want to get your guys' opinion on, and I had a podcast with someone the other day, and we were talking about how the whole platform of social media has taken on a life of its own within our society.
God.
So it's like, we've been stuck in this sort of rut that involves our socio-political dynamic for a long time. And, these many activists have appeared on social media, and some are doing, I guess, objectively good work, raising issues that need to be, highlighted. But then it sort of turns into a beast where they get quite powerful and have a lot of influence, which is a good thing if you're doing good work. But then sometimes, like to your point, it can turn into, you know, aimless like victimization. There's a lot of collateral, especially when information isn't verified or checked and stuff like that. So I was kind of wondering, you know, do you think that those activists or those people who do that work are more good than they are bad within our society today?
It's a necessary evil, right? At the end of the day, if you compare it to when
Would you be saying that if you got hit with stray bullets, though?
all the time? Let's remember who's. Sorry,
Okay.
Not to be arrogant, but yes,
He's a very good
I've
example.
been hit with one or two
He's a
stray
very
bullets.
Those weren't stray.
Right?
Those weren't stray. Those were snipers.
Right? But
That wasn't no stray bullets.
No, but fair is fair. I accept it in the realm of what I do, right? I've accepted to take on a certain role in society, so I have to understand that that equals being a target to certain people. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? But what I do, if you ask me on a general consensus of how I feel about everyone having an opinion, it's perfect, okay? If I compare it to when the big media houses control the entire narrative all the time, I would much prefer this scenario. Okay? Because what we've learned, especially about media in a country like Guyana, and this happens in America with CNN and Fox News and how they play both sides. We see it all the time here with all the media houses playing one bias or the next, right? And they're wonderfully talented at manipulating their words and sounding very articulate and making it sound like fact. But at the end of the day, what it has done is it's still given the average man, let's say myself, for example, the opportunity to at least defend myself. All right. So giving the people a voice, allowing more people to have an opinion and fact check. I'm sorry, there's nothing wrong with it. The only thing that you need to be able to control is one, when there are laws for this, slander and defamation, and then two, you have to understand that there needs to be, I guess, in certain contexts, they were like journalists and then there's social media commentators. What needs to happen is you need to have a strong press association that differentiates those two things, right? If I'm just on social media and I'm just writing my personal opinion on things, that's one thing, you're allowed to do that. But if you're going to speak as a unbiased media house, unbiased is a very loose term, but if you're going to speak as a professional media house, then you need to be held to different accountability levels. You need to understand that if you're putting yourself out there as journalist, as a professional, then I'm sorry, you're held to a different a level of accountability. Social media is what it is. Just don't talk shit about people.
Yeah, but journalists here are accredited, though. I mean,
accredited by who?
By the
Press Association.
Press Association.
Right, which again, not that I have a problem with them at all or what's happening, they're always in the media for some nonsense, but at the same time, I think themselves need to be held to a different standard.
That's such an oxymoron, an accredited journalist. What makes you an accredited journalist? Who accredits you? Who's the accreditation agency to say someone's an accredited journalist? Or is it something that you have to have been in the press for a certain amount of years to have been called a journalist? Because I saw some...
What's the criteria?
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Who cares who accredits it? What's the criteria?
I don't know.
And that's what the problem is, though, right?
So, yeah. I don't know.
But going back to...
But you think, for example, sorry to cut you. Critic, is he an accredited journalist? I don't think so. But he still reports news or a form of news.
But I do a show on social media, and I can say that I report the news, but I'm not a journalist. I don't know critic's situation. I ain't getting into that.
What's the true definition of journalist?
A political
what's our
back
Google,
and forth story.
What's our Google definition of journalist?
That's a good question. Let's try a Google source.
What is a journalist?
Yeah.
But Alex, while Vicky Googles furiously, going back to social media, I a little older than you all know. And I saw social media. I saw social media start. I saw High Five and
bro.
MySpace,
I was on High Five.
But the point I'm trying to make is what Meta has become is an alternate universe where people lose track of reality, and there's a very, very big disconnect between the world on social media and the world in real life. And I think sometimes a lot of social media influencers and people who are very active on social media, they lose track from just looking at their feed as to how the algorithm works, and they start to believe that everybody's talking about this. This is a trending issue. Everybody's talking about this. No, brother. If you open my Facebook, you'll see a completely different set of issues that everybody's talking about. And I think the sooner that we understand how the algorithm works, we'll place less and less and less emphasis on what is being said or what is trending on social media, because it's not real life. It's just a very, very small percentage of the
it builds
population.
an echo chamber, right? Because what the algorithm is essentially doing is showing them what their followers that they've accumulated.
But that's
their
just in your followers. That's not
exactly that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So once you've kind of accumulated that, you know what your audience is doing and the things they like and stuff like that. I mean, that's kind of how essentially I've understood it to work.
It's the same as the marijuana conversation. It's just a lack of education. Hey, don't waste a stand up.
Yeah, for real.
Host to you. Sit down there, got a guest serving and stuff. If it was Sister Marie looking for a rum, you would
Oh my God. We're going to cut all that.
Yeah, we're going to cut all that.
But he's slandering Sister Marie name wrong.
Sorry.
What's the definition?
My follow-up question, though. Sorry, you got it?
A journalist is an individual who collects/gathers information in the form of text, audio, or pictures, processes it into a newsworthy form, and disseminates it to the public.
So in other words,
Sorry, could you just read that into the mic?
Come.
A journalist is an individual who collects/gathers information in the form of text, audio, or pictures, processes it into a newsworthy form, and disseminates it to the public.
But I have a problem with that.
Google.
No, I don't have a problem with Google. But I'm saying I have a problem with the fact that there is nothing about accountability there. There is nothing about being a professional, looking at it from an objective perspective.
Well,
right?
Okay, but just so we don't get too general here, I'm sure the Press Association has their definition of what journalism is.
Press Association is a voluntary association.
I understand.
It's just a group of
I understand that.
Sorry. No,
I understand, and I'm aware of that. But they're still the body operating in Guyana that is basically accrediting media houses.
But hold on, then who accredits them, right? Because
you can't decide that you're the litmus test for who's a journalist or not because you're my buddy and you sit in my group and you pay dues to me. That's not fair.
Say that again, but into the mic this time so people could actually hear what you're saying.
If you would get up and mix a friggin' drink, I wouldn't have to be running around.
we have to say friggin'.
Talk, man, talk.
Go ahead, say what you were saying.
Vicky, you will edit out all these profanities.
Who makes you the litmus test?
What did I say?
Who makes you the litmus test?
No, I said that for instance, the Guyana Manufacturing Association. The Guyana Manufacturing Association is a voluntary association of manufacturers who got together for collective activism and collective advocacy. But by no means can they be considered the accreditation group for being a manufacturer. Like it shouldn't be on them to say, well, you're a manufacturer or not. And the reason I'm saying you're a manufacturer is because you're part of our group and you pay dues to us. No, it can't work like that. But it's
strong.
Alex, it's hard to argue the concept of journalism because then it brings in the opinions of journalists, and you can't argue with journalists. So just
when you say you can't argue with journalists,
can't argue with journalists.
The whole conversation is what makes you a journalist.
You can't argue with someone who says they're a journalist.
I love it.
How's the phrasing there?
You can't
I
tell
actually
me
semi
what I am.
agree with that.
How's
but
the phrasing?
in a very non-literal way.
You know how you can't
You
argue
can't
with
tell me what I identify as.
You know how you can't argue with a politician? You can't argue with a journalist. And politicians and journalists have this very, very parasitic, symbiotic relationship where they feed off of each other and they need each other and they like each other. But
It's
in
the same
public, they
thing.
have to show that they hate each other. But the fact of the matter is, one cannot exist without the other.
In which public?
In every public.
In which public do journalists and politicians go after each other unless the journalist or the politician are sitting on opposite sides of the fence?
I don't understand.
Other than that, they're best friends.
I don't understand.
So what I'm saying is journalists and politicians go hand in hand, absolutely, but that's because
No, bro.
Journalists are essentially politicians, and politicians are essentially journalists.
So,
Right? They're both giving their opinion and stating it and trying to manipulate it to make it look like
Trump is
fact.
accustomed to Fox News kissing his ass all the time, but if Fox can win over a CNN correspondent or MSNBC correspondent, he's over the moon. I mean,
That's just business.
this is where I'm coming with in terms of a symbiotic relationship, that they need each other and they rely on each other. You know, if there's no politicians, journalists have nothing to write about. If there's no journalists, politicians have no way of getting their word out. So there's a saying in communications, and any publicity is good publicity. You know, we yesterday you learned the name of a opposition parliamentarian that you probably might not have known before. Was it good publicity? No, but you know her name now.
I don't have you get.
So we allowed to talk about politics again?
No, you aren't.
I ain't able with it.
This is
This is very telling of your contribution to dialogue. If this is
I'm
affecting
happy
you
to talk
that
about
much.
I keep contributing, and then he brings up politics, and you're like, "No, you don't say nothing."
And he was the one that put the limitation on. Anyway,
Thank
just
you,
saying.
but he's
Not, yeah, but neither
and I'm
Alex
counting.
or I have.
This is the third
but
time
neither
he's
Alex
brought-
or I have vested interest.
But you- so then this is
I think in the bigger scheme of
Whether
things.
vested interests are first of all, everyone has vested interest
Yeah,
in
man,
politics.
but you have a weekly show where you can vent anything you could possibly say.
But that's just because nobody wants to listen to you.
Why would I have a weekly show? I'm a private businessman.
No, but what I'm saying is,
I have no need for
I
self-promotion.
think if anything at all, the fact that you guys have brought up politics, not, willingly or unwillingly so much, is because we have to accept how relevant it is in all these situations. Guyana is a hyper-political country. Everything that we deal with in this country, every pressing topic, politics is involved. And
I
that's
think
everywhere
there's
in the world,
governance
to be
and
honest.
there's governance and there's politics, and I think if we practiced focusing more on governance as opposed to practicing on politics, which brings in personalities and brings in.
But in Guyana, there's no difference.
But if you focus
Wait a
on
minute.
What's the difference between politics and governance?
if
in
you talk
Guyana?
about governance, then you're solely talking about the government of the day.
Well, governance is talking about what should be done, and politics is talking about what I'm doing and what they didn't do.
No, I think here the two are
the same.
are the same.
Why?
Because it just of how it's taken. Every time we are on this podcast and talk about something like, mildly political, I always feel that there's just, whether there is or not, that there's possible repercussion. There's that
There you go.
innate feeling, and that's
Perfect.
just what it is.
But don't you understand that it's possible to talk about a ideal case or a good case governance situation without perhaps bringing into context or bringing into the conversation what someone is currently doing?
But
Now,
to bring up a
let's-
better solution, you have to criticize what's happening now.
You don't have to criticize.
Well, you have to say why your suggestion is better than what's happening now, and point out the obvious flaws.
That is the problem with politics in this country, is that one of the things the politicians do is every time you say, hey man, can you fix this road? They'll be like, yeah, I'll fix this road, but you know what? The last guy didn't fix any roads. You must listen to some of the politicians speak and listen to how many times in their conversations they reference what the other guy
I
is doing.
totally understand that, but that's
So it's-
politicians talking about politics. I'm talking about us.
So
third
governance-
part-
so
no, I
governance-
mean third-party people, not third-party
So when
politicians.
you talk about governance, you don't
I'm
talk
here,
about
Vicky.
what the other personalities are doing. You just talk about, well, this is what I think would be a good way to solve this problem, and just leave it at that. But you don't have to bring personalities into
No,
it.
you're talking, but you're not listening to what Alex said. In Guyana, it's the same thing. We're not talking about in general. We're not talking about the moral concept. We're not talking about what it should be. What we're saying is, in Guyana, if you say, they should do better at fixing roads, it immediately is a political comment, because now you're criticizing the politicians that are not fixing the roads properly.
I'm actually
And
criticizing the contractors, not the politicians, for the record.
You mean you're not
With roads?
criticizing the people that are hiring the people? You're criticizing the worker, not the boss?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm criticizing the people who are taking multi-million-dollar contracts and not just having the good business ethics to do a proper job.
And I'm criticizing the people that continuously give those same people the multi-million-dollar contracts, knowing they're not going to do a good job.
But then you got to criticize the people who put them in power, and it's cyclical.
100%. Criticize
So where do you start? So the
us.
governance starts
Yep.
at, well, what's the
So you
first?
just need to take a good look in the mirror.
Yeah,
what's going
and
on.
vote
Look at the
different.
man in the mirror.
No,
No,
that's
but-
what that's what it is, though.
But isn't it frustrating that we can't even have like a I mean, this is a fun conversation, no doubt. But we just, it ultimately just gets back there. I find that very.
But this is
Very tragic.
No, it's just based
we're
on what we're
adults now,
talking
though.
about right
this
now.
Is what this is what our world
you know.
is. You want to talk about doing a really popular podcast? Guess what? It's going to be influential. So guess what? It has political ramifications. You want to talk about opening a business and like having lots of customers come, and you put out a slogan that might seem contentious, then guess what? In a small society like Guyana, and always remember that it has a lot to do with the size of our society. Everything has an effect. Everything will have an influence. Everybody, we're in a village here. We're all just going to talk about it. So when you say, oh, why does it always have to get back here? It's because of the society we live in. Guyana is a small space and we're hyper-political. I don't want to get into the political talk of why we're so political in the context of our constitution and our systems of governance. But the truth is, because we're so small, just based on our size, it's like a little village with everybody talking, and it has weight. So put it this way: I grew up in Toronto. If I were to sit down in Toronto,
Did you know?
and I went to college in Toronto, and I were to
You
sit
didn't grow
down in
up in
Toronto.
Toronto.
Well, I look at my college days as the days I grew up, but nonetheless, that's what became a man. But nonetheless. If I sat down in Toronto, in a coffee shop, and with people around, with any amount of people around, and I said, "Oh my God, these guys keep giving us a blackout," right? It probably won't affect whether or not a political party wins the next election. But in Guyana, you got to remember, we are so close that literally, a couple hundred votes change everything in Guyana. So that little coffee shop you sitting in, you're like, "Oh my God, this government is garbage. These blackouts are horrible." It affects them, actually has a real effect on them. So
I remember being in university and we had a hurricane pass through Miami, and they shut off all the power and all the Americans were panicking. The Guyanese were like, "Relax,
yeah. Actually,
we got this." I reached into my emergency pack, pulled out my flashlight, mosquito coil, and candle.
it was I remember that when they had that problem. It was like the purge. People were like, "This is our moment."
I've never seen any of those movies, the Purge movies. I've never seen any of them. That's
You're not
a
missing
true
they're not that
story.
good.
I've
Maybe
never
the
seen any of
first
them.
one was like, okay, just for the shock factor.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Like we're
Granted,
not
have
too
you
far
guys
off.
been to the movies lately?
No.
I actually been wanting to talk about this. Definitely, I strongly recommend. There's this movie called Poor Things. It's with Emma Stone and Willem
I was
Dafoe.
just got nominated for a
I
whole bunch
like
of
Willem
awards.
Dafoe.
It is
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, Dafoe's
yeah.
a bad man.
It is amazing, bro. So the concept, not gonna spoilers, but the concept is like Willem Dafoe is like this Frankenstein character. He's like this not mad scientist, but he's a very, out there scientist. He's all scarred up, and he operates on like animals and humans, and like he like puts different animals together. So you'd see like a dog with a chicken head. It's a
Like
a-
Dr. Moreau, Island of Dr. Moreau.
I've never seen that.
It's a
We're
book.
not
Before my
that
time.
old.
Before my time.
You all must read
Stop
some
referencing
books.
things from the
You all
70s.
must read some books.
I'll ask my dad about
Read
it.
some books. You all come off of social media and read a book. That's what you
Oh
all
my
need
gosh.
to do.
Tell me when it's
Anyway,
in movie form.
So
I'll send it to you on audio, but if that makes it easier for you all,
So basically, the doctor finds this woman. She's committed suicide. She jumps off a bridge. He finds her body.
Hey, man.
She's about to die. And it's not a giveaway. But then she's pregnant. So he saves the baby. No, sorry. He saves her body, takes the baby's brain and puts it into her body, and then
Nice.
brings her back to life. So the movie is about her basically going through life with this totally unique perspective on life.
Oh, that's a cool
and
concept.
It is, and it's very like there's a lot of sex in the movie. Weirdly enough, but I know it's weird, but it's like it's very like philosophical, like her whole experience.
Did you go by yourself?
No, I went with my mom and sister.
Nice.
Yeah,
To a sex
so it
movie?
was super awkward.
You sat in between your mother and your sister.
yeah. That's,
Bro, I remember in Miami,
This is a nightmare of a conversation.
I went to see Monsters Ball, where Billy Bob Thornton
Oh
was
my God, with
railing
Halle
Halle Berry on the
Yeah,
couch.
yeah.
And I was there with my girlfriend at the time's mom, and I'm sitting there squirming about it. That was real. That one, and the
Not
other
true.
movie we went
Jared
to
was
see.
like, are you enjoying this as much as I am?
No, the other movie I went to see was Monster with Charlize Theron, that rhymes with heron. And I came out to that movie just hating myself as a man, you know. I just I was turned off from men from that day on. You know, men are
think I
real
saw
asses.
Every day, every
You've never
day.
seen that movie?
No, I'll
No,
look
she
at it.
was that was a fantastic.
It was actually, I remember.
Yeah.
It was a good movie.
It was written by
They don't
women.
make
It was a
good
def-
movies anymore.
starring a woman.
Huh? They don't what?
You know.
They don't make as many good movies anymore. There's for every good movie there's 20 pieces of garbage.
I think there's, you know, if you look at,
Like Marvel.
if you're a movie,
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
a movie lover, Marvel is trash. Sorry,
Yeah.
Marvel's trash.
become
As a comic
trash,
book, as a
yeah.
comic book fan, I can assure you, Marvel is corporate trash right now. I grew up on X-Men and Spider-Man and actual physical comic books, and I appreciated the dialogue.
color?
I appreciated the artistry in the comic books. It was amazing. That in itself is an art form, I believe. Anyway, where are we talking?
It's good. They had good writing too. And you know, like comics have good writing.
So comic books were the first soap operas, brother. Where in comic books it was a serial that you had to keep on buying the next comic to see what happened.
I was massively addicted to Archie comics back in the day.
Yeah, Archie. And you know what's funny? Archie encouraged reading. At the end of the day, even though it was garbage you were reading, it encouraged reading.
Yeah.
And kids today don't read.
But should they read garbage?
They should read anything. They should read the newspaper.
That's not true, because then go back to the conversation of
I used to
journalism.
read shampoo bottles.
Well, I think
you know,
I think with reading,
Read anything.
to Jared's point though, Kian, I think the process of reading, it's how your mind processes it. It's way more subjective, way more like, you know, there's way more going on. I think
Like
that
room
you
to form your own opinion.
Exactly, there's way more
interpretation.
room
Yeah,
for interpretation than
Yeah.
a video of someone explaining something.
with a
to
certain
you.
tone and a certain facial expression.
The narrative
Yeah,
is
yeah.
way more easily controlled on the video, which is why you should look at the Gyaff every week.
did you stare at the camera when you did
He
that?
did, dead in the
Nice.
eyes. I'm uncomfortable.
Next up, you need to have a bottle of 12-year-old next to you, and we can ask Mr. Samro if he would.
The
give us
first
some
question Jared asked
sponsorship.
when he came in here is, how is this monetized?
No,
Jared,
he was saying.
you're just here to
yeah.
talk your nonsense. Don't focus on the
That's
people
what
money.
Kelsey said. Kelsey said, babe, everybody else is going on the show and they've got something to plug. They've got some platform. Fuck you go in there and do. I said, babe, go in and chat with Alex.
And
You
make
know?
sure Kian doesn't speak politics.
Yeah. You're sweating profusely, you know that?
Who am I?
Under your arm.
Oh yeah.
Why are you looking at that?
Because it's in
Oh, we're
front
all-
of me.
Now we're all uncomfortable.
That and these pants.
He's
Bro,
nervous.
you wore some green pants in one of those interviews. You look thick. You need to.
I've been putting on, yo. Don't say that.
Have you?
I've been real insecure lately, yeah.
Need
And
to-
I started gym and I just been putting on.
Ease on the squats.
This is what happens when you get married.
It's bulking. It's bulking.
Just let yourself go. No longer need to appeal to anyone. You're
true.
stuck with me forever.
It's true.
Hey, Anna.
But you're what? You work out like what, every day? Every
I
other
work
day?
out 3 times a day. The thing is,
3 times a day?
3 times a week. Sorry.
Uh-huh.
I used to do a lot of cardio, and then lately I've just been lifting. So
Well, that's
I
why.
think my body is like not calibrating properly. But this is like a real frustration I have with me and Anna, right? It's like, so we would like just not go to the gym or not work out for a long time, both put on weight. Because we're eating, we're drinking, doing whatever. And then she like eat a salad for one day and lose like 15 pounds.
I like when you also you all put on weight.
And
Him
then-
and Anna are like combined 100
Yeah.
pounds, both of them dripping wet. You know, like
Yeah,
not an ounce of fat. between
Jared is
them.
about to tell you all about after you cross a certain threshold in age
Oh my
that it
God.
changes
I mean,
a
well,
lot.
I feel like that's where I'm headed.
So when
right
you're
now.
like 65, what has happened, Jared?
I don't know. If, you know, God willing, I live that long. I don't know. But you know what's funny about young people making fun of me for age? Y'all aren't Peter Pan, and y'all will get older. And one day you'll be sitting here, and you'll be sitting down next to someone younger than you, and you'll be trying to explain a concept, and you'll get made fun of. But that's just part of getting old. That's just part of growing older and attaining wisdom and getting experiences and learning more and more and more that you can pass on. And whether those younger than you listen to you or not, well, then I don't give a shit. It's completely on you. I have a lot of cool life experiences, and I like to pass on a lot of cool life experiences. In terms of male role models, I had a lot of different ones growing up, including my dad, but there was a lot of outside influences. So in terms of molding me as a male role model, I had a lot of different straws to pick from, and I in my social group, I was always the youngest in the group. All my friends are older than me. And, you know, going out, when I go sit down, I always sit down with people older than me. And the reason for that is because you learn things from older people. You can't learn things from stupid people. You can't learn things from people your age because they know what you know. But if you hang around people a little older who've read a couple of books, you might learn a thing or two.
Yeah, but there are also some older stupid people.
Oh, there's plenty of older stupid people.
I was
Plenty.
the same way.
But you know what? As stupid as you might think someone is, understand that stupidity is derived from a series of life experiences, and that has molded the person that they are when they get to their age. So if you look at a 65-year-old person, you're like, oh, this guy's a dick. This guy's an ass, you know? Then you get a little older, and you know your world changes around you, and maybe you start to develop your own personality. I mean, I know a lot of uncles that I have that I think are awesome. I think they're the nicest guys in the world. But from an outside opinion, people will say, no, that guy's a dick. He's an ass. He's not an ass. He just is who he is. He has his own personality, and he's not trying to conform to anybody else. And I'm part of the generation that did that.
My fear about getting old is, well, one, the older is the physical capacity, like where I think I spent the early to mid 20s really, I won't say abusing my body, like I was fairly healthy.
No. He was almost a professional athlete, though.
I was fairly healthy. I
You
worked out a
abusing your
lot.
body in the mornings or the afternoons?
Sometimes both, depending
Lord.
on how I felt.
All right. Drink a lot.
Now
of
he's just
Guinness.
abusing his liver.
No, but I think like by that I mean there was never any mindful like recovery, you know. So I wouldn't do things like stretching or just like drinking enough water, which until recently I found out was very important because I took that for granted, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the physicality thing and like with my recovery now, if I have like a really hard workout or if I really push myself to my limit, I'm hurting for like a couple days. So that's one. And then two, you know, to your point, I just feel like getting older, yeah, you can still probably relate and talk to young people as well, but they'll just be
I'm 43 for the record. I'm not. I mean, we're talking about the old age conversation.
No one that looks like you can be 43.
I turned 43 in August. When the two of you have this much black hair on your head at 43, come back and talk to me.
I'm just going to keep rubbing this because I feel like it's getting a reaction.
That's the funny part. I get to sit around and watch young people get older, fatter, and balder. The same ones who made fun of me when I was.
Jared and I also have kids
but
the
I
same
feel
age.
I'm kind of I'm kind of intimidated by the fact that people are just gonna sort of, and again, it's natural, like especially when you have kids, but like they just sort of dismiss your opinion or your experience.
When you get older?
Yeah, you know, I kind of feel that. Like I
That's
don't
just
know.
the youth arrogance.
No,
We
I
dismiss it because of
know.
comes
But
with
once
that?
you cross that threshold, you're no longer in that youth group, you know, and you just don't feel as
But
young.
you know what comes with that,
and with
Alex?
it.
You also stop giving a shit. You also stop caring
sure.
about
That's actually super true,
who
too.
finds you interesting and who finds you like intelligent. You literally stop giving a shit, and what you do is you drill down and you focus down to those you connect with, and you do. I mean, I got a bunch of y'all that are reasonably younger than me that keep coming around, you know, and I try my best with you. I try to pass on life experiences, and hopefully you all learn a thing or two, you know. You're not going to have kids?
What? I don't know. We'll see.
You don't know if you're going to have kids?
I mean, I would like to, and I think she would like to as well. But it's like there's no plans as of now. You know, I don't think it's like, are you gonna have kids? Yes, I am.
Eventually, one day.
Like I have friends. I
One
have
day.
friends, for example, who.
I didn't say it to like pressure.
No. I know. But that's the
Call
thing.
you out on being childless.
But,
Well, I'm uncomfortable.
but that's the thing. That's the funny thing about that question, right? Is that you can't really say that to somebody who doesn't have kids without there being some sort of pressure, because it's just normal. Because
It's
want it.
insensitive, huh?
I mean, I'm not taking it as insensitive, but I just feel like, and again, I'm not saying that I feel a way, but an instinctual part of me is like, well, I don't even know how to answer that. Like, I want to, but what if I find out I can't have kids? Or what if, you know, it doesn't happen? Or what if, you know, my life just takes a turn where it doesn't make sense and it just never happens? And, you know, so there's like a number of things where, you know, it's a weird question to ask. And by the way, thank you for asking.
I
'cause it
feel
just
like you'd
brings
be
up-
a good dad. I've seen you with Peppa. I think you'd...
Thank you.
Pepper.
Yeah. My
The dog.
yeah.
Bro, we were at
Basically the same
Ampa
thing.
My boy
Basically the same.
running behind Peppa taking pictures of her. Peppa's like lying down with her feet in the air, and Alex is like, "Oh my god,
Guys,
look at what
guys,
she's doing!"
this is not-
Everybody
no,
look.
Jared is
And
actually a
Anna's
good father. That's not what he thinks being a
Anna's
father is
like-
about.
Anna's like, Jesus Christ.
I
just
run
leave the
after
dog."
this dog. So I run after it. Anything this dog do is like I'm like the parent with the camcorder.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, oh my god.
Helicopter and the dog. Poor
Yeah,
dog.
I'm a helicopter parent.
Wait
Trying
till
to
you
take a
wake
dump,
up at
you know, in the
3 o'clock in the morning
sand.
with your colic dog, and
Yeah.
and it's like, why won't you go back to sleep?
But being dads yourself, I mean, like, how do you guys? Did you think like having kids? Obviously, it did, but in what ways did it change your perspective on life?
On life?
You know when
Or
you're,
doesn't.
you
You're
know
just
what?
like
I'll tell
business
you
as
right now.
usual.
You know what it is? You know what it is? I don't care about anything else anymore other than her. Even down to like politics. Like people are like, why are you in politics? I don't need to be in politics. There's nothing about politics that should benefit me ever. But I'm in politics because that little girl needs me to do everything I can to make sure she is safe, healthy, protected, and given all the opportunities possible. All your child does is just is give you like this outlook on life that you no longer are what's important. Everything in your life needs to be dedicated to making sure someone else is good and comfortable and loved and happy. And that's all that having a child does. And I think it really settles you down. It mellows you out. It tones you. It makes sure that you know, you take. I find that now with who we are in this world, especially with social media and blah blah blah, you know, what the world portrays to us is that you need to make sure you are good. You know what I mean? Like, you know, make sure you do everything in life to make sure you are happy. You know, if this doesn't make you happy, don't do it. And it's kind of like, that's not what life is at all. It's the complete opposite. You need to be doing everything you can to make other people happy. You need to be doing everything you can to not worry about yourself, sacrifice everything about you to make sure someone else is happy. And you really can't understand that in this world, especially in this world right now, until you have that little like creature in front of you that's like everything is about you. And I find what's interesting about it is that, you know, you made the comment just now that, oh, you know, you love your dogs, and I know people out there love their dogs, but that's what it does to them. It gives them this completely different perspective on, I have to care about something other than myself. And I think that's what everyone is lacking in this world, because you don't understand, again, mentally, what that balance does for you. Stop thinking about yourself all the time. Think about somebody else. And then all of a sudden you're like, holy, my life is a little bit better because I'm a little bit more balanced. And that's what I think people without children or without dogs for that matter miss completely. And it messes with our relationships.
Kids are awesome. Little kids are awesome. Yeah. They're at every different stage of their life. I think they bring something else different to the table. I have teenagers. Jenna's going to be 16 at the end of this month. And you know, Caden's going to be 15 this year. They're both, you know, I got lucky with the two of them. You know, they're well put together kids. And remember when we were kids, and you looked at your parents, and it was a given that everything was all right, and they had shit figured out, and they knew the path forward. And as long as I remember going into a Barry as a kid and sitting in the speedboat. In a Barry Creek going down, the old man sitting next to me, and I was not afraid because daddy next to me, he not worried, nothing can happen to me because dad is here. And then you get older and you get to their age, and you yourself are like in the background trying to put shit together and trying to figure shit out. But the image you got to show to the kids is the brave face that daddy knows what's up, daddy knows what's happening, and dad'll take care of it. But that internal battle of you yourself second guessing, you yourself having self-doubt about yourself and about how to react in life, and then you got to go and bring this little life into the world, and then unleash it on everybody else. So it's a massive responsibility, I think, as a parent, especially these days when there's a lot of distractions. I think social media, I think the phone, I think there's a lot of societal pressures and a lot of... But the distractions are crazy, and the gratification now is seconds. This is how quick their attention span is. It's literally like this. So you've got dad now who's come, let's bake a cake together. Come, let's go build a Lego together, a Lego set together. No, bro. Kids want instant gratification. They want something quicker. They want something that comes to them and makes them happy quicker. So raising kids in 2024 is interesting. And I think it's a bit of a challenge, you know?
A little bit.
And the parents that step up, the parents that really put time behind kids to get kids into extracurriculars, to get kids into music, to get kids into sports. Jesus Christ, I commend you. Every single one of them, I commend you. All of those parents who go and stand up in the blistering friggin' sun on Thomas Lands or on Carafesta to watch their kid play soccer or to watch their kid play hockey. Jesus Christ, commendation to you, mothers and fathers, because I see both of them out there. I think it's amazing. I think it's great. I like to see parents putting that sort of effort behind extracurriculars. You were pushed as a kid. Andrew Arjun pushed you in squash. You know.
Yeah. Well, that would to your point. And then that makes a lot of sense.
Andrew Arjun, who is a good-looking man, according to Kelsey.
According to a few people,
This
apparently.
has gotten super personal.
No, bro.
Did you just need to throw that in there?
No, his
How good
dad's
looking
in
his dad
gym,
is?
flexing, bro. Like all.
Is it making you uncomfortable?
No,
Is this a
that's all.
masculinity
That's all.
thing? Is this
Male.
He's threatened. He's threatened.
Your fiance your said, another man is attractive, so let me,
Yeah.
I
And my
think
dad
I-
is
if- I
single,
think if
so
I
Alex,
was-
can you tell your dad to stop flexing in the gym? Thanks.
If I was shorter, I'd be threatened. You know.
Oh my
I take that
God.
personally.
What is happening in this conversation? Are you not?
And that's
is that your response to-
how you silence
Is that
people.
your
You
response
know?
to
Because you're
Kelsey?
like,
Oh, he's short. So that's what you
I
want.
do it all the
Oh,
time.
I could do
Yeah.
that if you want, but I choose not to.
I was like, why are you mad? Is it because I'm tall? And then they stopped talking.
How tall are you?
In heels, 6'4".
It's cute.
Regularly 6. It's
Without heels and the fishnets.
I tell people 6'2", but it's like 6'1" and something. But yeah. I wasn't tall in high school. I was skinny. I had the original biscuit chest in high school. Before I left university, I was like 5'10". Everybody was taller than me. Came back
Grew
at
in
6'2".
University?
Bro, them hormones in the Miami beef, crazy.
That's why it's like,
Shoots
but
you up.
Stop growing before that.
Yeah, shoots you up. Well, I had a very, very late growth spurt. Very, very late. That height came on very late. So my son, Kane, was kind of like concerned about getting tall. That was his thing. That am I going to get tall? Yeah. But
Shut up recently.
he's got tall on both sides.
Yeah.
He's got on my side and on the mother's side. So, not the mother brother.
His mother?
The mother.
Ooh.
We can no.
Dr.
We cannot use the.
This is unusable.
We cannot
This
use the
conversation
definite
is turning
article.
again.
We need to use the indefinite. We cannot say his mother. We have to say the mother.
Go for it. This conversation is going to be
Anyway.
wonderful.
I'm in the barbershop today in the conversation of stepchildren came up, and it was really interesting hearing barbershop perspective on. Absolutely.
Interesting conversation.
No, that was really, really interesting. Hearing the boys in the shop talk about dating women with children, or the women that they date, their attitude towards their own children, and boy,
How is that? What did they say?
it's barbershop Gyaff, so you got a lot of posturing, you got a lot of fluff.
All right.
But
I won't give my opinion on this.
absolutely, let's hear from Kian.
So this topic is probably the most contentious topic in my life, right? So
This one?
yeah, I live a contentious life. I was silly. No, but when it comes to my dating life, I have a horrible rule, and I mean this in no way to offend
I could not
anyone.
wait until we
promise.
got to Kian's dating life. This is the high point. If you got to get the clips for Instagram, here we go.
I blush because the conversation is ridiculous. Because I have a rule. All right, I have a child. All right, my daughter's 12 years old. I'm no longer with a mother. I'm in the dating world, and I have a rule that I
6'1" likes long walks on the beach.
I do not date any women that have children. It's like, you can be the most beautiful woman on earth. Everything about you can be wonderful. I have this mental block because of it. If you turn to me and you say, I have your child, that's it. I no longer will have any emotional connection
You
to
have a kid.
I know it's hypocritical, but hold on. Let me try and explain. So my daughter's mother and I split when she was only 1 year old, so very, very young.
1 year
right?
old.
Yeah. Right when she was, just after she was born, not too long after. And I went, all the, filters off. I went through a long custody battle, and I ended up with joint custody of my daughter, in which during her very young stages in life, it was completely evenly split, 50-50. So she had half the time, during the custody battle, she'd go 50%, 1 week with me, 1 week with her mother, or then it evolved into, okay, I'm going to pick her up every day from school and we're going to alternate weekends and then she'll just sleep by you. So it was for her younger years, it was very 50-50. All right. Only now that she's grown up, does she have this, her own opinion, if you will. Choose who you want to be with. She'll pick up the phone. She has a phone now. She'll be like, Dad, come and pick me up. You know what I mean? So she gets to determine whenever she wants to be with any of us. We literally, both of us kind of like, hey, Alara, you want to be with me today? And teenagers are like, no, I'm good in my room, thanks. But nonetheless, so why don't I date women with children? Because it's having gone through all that I went through with Alara and the separation and stuff. Obviously, if I'm going to date a woman with a child, that she's obviously separated from her husband or father of her child. So for me, I always remember the minute that you are emotionally like, whether happy or confused or angry, whatever your emotional state is, it affects that child. And if you're a single person, when your child is with you, they're there with you all the time. They're dependent on you. They're looking at you for every single aspect. And I just have this crazy mental block that, listen, as if we were to be in a relationship together, like obviously a relationship is not like smooth sailing forever. I just don't want any problem you and I have to ever affect your child. And that's a nightmare to me. I can't have you like crying or angry or sad or even overly ecstatic about me and your child is affected by that. It bothers me. I should not be an influence in your child's life, like in any way, shape or form. And when it comes to my daughter, it's a very plain, straight up situation. My daughter and I have a wonderful relationship. We travel the world together. Her mother is absolutely there in her life. Like anybody that's romantically in my life is more like there as a friend to my daughter. You know what I mean? If any of, whoever has met her. But it's never like a connection, like, oh my gosh, this person is like a part of your life now. So I have a problem becoming a part of somebody's life and thus becoming a part of that child's life, not knowing where it's going to go. I hate that inconsistency because that's what I feel children need most, like thrive on. They just need you to be there all the time for them, right? And that's my romantic hang-up.
I think children just want to be listened to. I think that's what children want.
Yeah.
They just want to, I think kids have a lot on their chest and they just want to be heard. And I think extracting that out of kids sometimes takes a little finesse, because not every kid is going to be as forthcoming with what's on their mind, perhaps than another kid. Some kids are super, super bottled up because of personal insecurities about talking about certain things. With regards to dating women with kids, I don't think I think kids are exposed to too much these days. I think there was a time when kids were seen and not heard. I think when adults were having adult conversations and having adult discussions and having adult disagreements, kids screw. Kids aren't supposed to be around. And if you're inflating that argument or that discussion to a point where the kid knows what's happening, well, then you need to tone down, And it's the same way with PDAs. It's the same way with how you speak around kids. I don't know if you grew up in a huggy kissy household where, people hugged each other up and kissed each other and told each other. Did y'all do that? Did y'all snuggle and tell each other you love them?
Our parents were separated and then got a divorce. So
no, but that's what I'm asking you is, did you grow up in a family where
but our parents were unconditionally loving of us.
Physical?
100%.
Dad hugged you up?
100%.
All the time? Kissed you, I love you.
All the time.
Yeah.
Could not be more grateful.
So I didn't grow up in that household. Yeah. I didn't grow up with the physical. I didn't grow up with us hugging each other and telling each other we loved each other, and I didn't have that. I actually overcompensate with my kids now, where I tell them I love them, I hug them up, I kiss them up. Kelsey's probably a little more physical with the physical stuff than I am, but I'm trying. But to get it out of me to actively go up and hug up in PDA.
I feel like that's my kind of as Anna would tell me, love language.
You're the hugger?
I hate that. What's your love language? Because I'm like,
what's the love language?
I love
the 5 love
it's
languages.
Such a good,
7. How many love languages?
No,
are
it's
there?
such a good
5.
focus to figure out.
no,
it's
I know,
such a good.
it is. No, it is. It is. But what I don't like about it is that because, and I'll just admit it, sometimes when you put that on the table and really have to look inside yourself to say, oh, well, what is my love language? You have to look at parts that sometimes as a man I just rather not look at. And that's my fault. That's on me, So
What's
that's
that?
You just have to examine yourself
Masculinity
in a way.
as a man in
As
society.
a man. Not that I think
Yeah.
as a man I'm too manly to love. I don't mean it like that.
And Alex, let
But
me
it
tell you
just- but it just
let
mean-
me tell you something. I think
You ever look at yourself on camera as you will once this is airs? Sometimes it's cringy. It's cringy to look at yourself and have. I still do it, by the way. I'm just saying, for me, it's like an emotional introspection that I have to have.
you got to
That
ease on
sometimes-
that
that sometimes I'm not-
self-judgment. I think you
I hear
and
you.
all of us need
I
to
hear you.
ease on this self-judgment. We need to ease on how am I going to look? How am I going to sound? How is that going to come across?
Look. It's not how I'm gonna look. It's just how I feel. Because then sometimes I might have to address things within me that and you guys could relate to this as men, right? There's sometimes things that we do that it's just easier to say or deny that it's our problem, like that it's something we maybe should change and it might make us better, but we don't want to look at that right now because that's just who we are. And you look, no, that's not a problem. It's something else, and I think men genuinely
When you
feel
say
that.
the problem, you think there is a problem?
It's not that there's a problem. It's that, problem in the sense that maybe there's something that you might find in yourself through that introspection that you realize, wow, maybe this part that I thought that was just me, that who I am, maybe it's something that I can and should change. And that's a big thing. That's a big ask of yourself.
I got a question for you, Alex, because you're fairly liberal. I would like to ask: Do you think that males, are becoming demasculinized over time? Do you think we're losing men?
No.
No.
I
Not at all.
I don't think.
No,
I don't
you
think
all don't
that's
think so.
because I don't think that's a liberal conservative thing. By the way, and we could have this talk as well because Anna and I argue about this all the time.
Yeah.
Like there's like moments like where she'll be like, "You're such a Republican," and I'm like, "Republican."
What's wrong with? But what's wrong? What's wrong?
No, I know.
Hold on.
You
Hold
want
on.
us to get into politics again? You want to tell me what's wrong with Republicans?
Hold
We
on.
can
Hold
talk
on.
about American politics.
When millennials accuse people of being Republicans, I'd like to remind them that it was the Democrats that supported slavery, and it was the Democrats that supported a lot of.
But now,
I get
you
back
know.
into this, okay?
sit back a little bit.
Bananas.
Sit back a little bit,
Bananas.
Jared.
Eh?
Sit back a little.
Oh, sorry,
okay.
Vicky.
Bananas.
My big ass head blocking.
We could talk about American
Alex is
politics.
close.
No. Let's talk about the masculinity thing in society.
Yeah, let's talk about the masculinity. I want to hear about that.
That thing, right? So you're confronted with something that, because if you're forced to look inside yourself, like emotionally, right? You might find something that, maybe you need to change. And look, sometimes it's not as deep as that, but I'm just saying, like, if I'm constantly telling you, Jared, man, I find you too, you're just too closed off. You're not opening up. You're too closed off. You're not opening up. And then you, like, one day you're forced to, like, actually think about it in a different way with your communication and how you want to address your shit. You have to look inside yourself. You might do some introspection and realize, these things I've been feeling, this sort of not being able to connect or not being able to get this thing off my chest, is because I am in fact closed off. But to change that now will change my identity in a way and and it change the person you carry yourself as on a day to day. and it's fine if you do. It's great if you do because it gives you some peace. But it's a hard thing to do. You know, it's not easy.
I think
Hold on.
I'm selective
No,
about
no,
it in
no,
terms
hold
of
on.
selective in terms of which habits do I want to moderate, and I think the habits that I want to moderate is to the extent that it's affecting someone I care about.
There you go.
But if it's affecting someone on Facebook,
No.
I can give
Nobody
it-
cares
but
about
that's-
anybody
all
on
right. So let
Facebook.
me finish. Let me
The
finish.
people on
But let
Facebook
me
don't care what your love language is.
But let me finish.
Don't they?
Just in terms of addressing internal issues, I think societal pressures, there are a lot of societal pressures on men, on women, on kids to conform to this ideal of what you're supposed to be as a man, woman, or child. And it defeats individualism. It removes individualism. I think in terms of introspection, what I do is, did I respond poorly to Kelsey? Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. The way I said it, I shouldn't have said it. I was a dick. I'm sorry. Did I respond poorly to the guy in traffic? Fuck that. Whatever. Scream at him all you want. You know what I'm saying? But compartmentalize. You need to be patient. You need to be tolerant, and you need to have some amount of self-introspection before you speak to people that you care about. Going back to what he was talking about, being selfless, I think that's one thing that we're not doing anymore. We're not taking care of each other as much as we should be, you know? We really are brothers keepers, you know? And we need to put a little more time into looking after people that are around us.
But it's a simple. It's
as men,
simple.
as one of our duties as men.
Again, it's a
Sorry.
very simple concept, okay? Anytime you do anything, you have to have a level of accountability.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to look at yourself and you have to
Oh,
say...
I want to talk about
okay,
accountability.
Okay,
Yeah.
we have to look at ourselves and we have to say, listen, when I walked... Keep it as simple as possible. When I walked out to the car today, I went to the front door, I put my shoes on and I walked out. I will ask myself right now, did that affect anyone in my life negatively? Did it affect anyone around me negatively? Right? So for example, was my child upset that I didn't say bye? Was my wife upset I didn't kiss her? So you have to just look at your actions and tell yourself, all I can do in this world is make sure I'm not impacting it in a negative way.
Correct.
And it's that simple. It sounds craziness because what I found most people in society do, or in this case don't do, is they never sit down and look at the little things they do and think to themselves, why am I doing this? They don't look at themselves for accountability.
Or who does it affect?
Nobody points at themselves. Nobody looks in the mirror. Everyone in this day and age just says, I'm doing this because this is what I want to do. Or they've just come up with a rationale that has completely justified whatever bullshit is they've done. Right?
Can I get real with you right now?
Yeah, of course.
And just totally like unfiltered.
May
Just
I?
because we're here, we've come this far, and I think this is, guys. I think this is a breakthrough for us. No,
This is what
seriously.
are going to drop your viewership, just so you know.
I know.
Go for it.
The reason I kind of want to ask you this is, you know, and first of all, let me preface this by saying that we've known each other for a long time, and you're a great dad. I've seen it my own two eyes. Fantastic. But you know, we're talking about like relationships and how and you know how those impact kids and stuff like that. And you know, you've been in a few, because of who you are now, a public figure, and you have been in you know, we talk about contentious relationships or contentious things, and you have been in publicly contentious things as a result of who you are. You know, many of us are in contentious relationships or have contentious parts of our relationship, 100%. And that was kind of thrust into the public. And I'm not here to debate who was right or who was wrong and all that. That's not really my business. But right. Well, I mean, you know, he's a public figure, so
It's his private life.
right. But it's fair game for criticism.
It is. I put myself in that position. Absolutely.
Right. So my question to you is, you know, looking back at that, do you ever think, okay, what effect did this have on the people I love? And then maybe also, could I have done anything better to you know, not allow this to get where it was? You know, and that's the kind of introspection I want. Because, and look, like, it doesn't really make sense us talking about all this if we just can't have the hard conversations. And again, I'm not meaning to thing you or call you out or anything, but I'm just curious to know as we're here.
Let me tell you, probably since I've, stepped into this public realm, one of the things that I've been very cautious with, especially after all the negative things have happened. I'm a very social person. I'm out all the time. I mean, I own a restaurant. I'm one of those people that are very rarely home. But, you can find out through my large social circle that I'm one of those people that never, you don't often see people in pictures with me or tagging me in things and so on. Because I've learned very quickly, because of who I am in society, any little issue that I have in whether my private life or my public life, it's going to affect every single person in my life. It's going to affect all my family. It's going to affect my friends. It's going to affect everyone. And I guess the first thing I'm going to say to that is I'm sorry to everyone that's been affected to whatever has happened in my life. Because I know it's affected a lot of people, and it always bothers me dearly that the decisions that I have made are hurting other people. And in most cases, unwarrantedly. It should have never affected that person's life. There's a few people, and they know themselves out there, that I can only, first of all, thank profusely to, but also apologize profusely to, because it's been hard out there for everybody that's associated with me, with everything that goes on in my life. My daughter, obviously, I guess luckily and unluckily, she's very young. So luckily, a lot of the stuff she's missed. And then unluckily, she doesn't fully understand the stuff that she got, right? So it's been a trial back and forth. When you ask if I would have done anything different or changed anything, in every aspect, I promise you, whatever came off as negative as it did, I honestly sit there and I tell myself all the time, whether my fault or not, because of the result, you should have done something different. So if you ask me, would you have done things differently? Because of what has happened, yes, without a doubt. Sitting there.
If it wasn't on the internet, would you have done things different?
That's an excellent question as well. And you see, the problem with that is, and again, I don't want to get into any part of what has happened, but just in the smallest context possible, I can tell you, I think I hurt people's feelings. I don't think I did anything as wrong as it was made out to be, right? I'm going to try my hardest not to get into anything here, but if you're asking me if I should have done anything differently, I'll tell you right now, I think I should have communicated better. I think I should have communicated differently. I think I shouldn't have let my emotions, dictate things that I said or anything like that. But I mean, all of us know. I mean, we can just to get the craziness out of the air. There was a physical element that was portrayed. I'm sorry, there was no physical element. All right, I'm going to say that right now. I said things that were horrible, and I'm the kind of person that I feel like everybody feels this way about them. But I can say some really horrible things. And I shouldn't have said certain things. I shouldn't have been as angry as I was. I shouldn't have said certain things knowing that it was going to trigger that person and get them angry. And I should have done differently in that context. So the answer is yes to both questions, I guess. On and off the camera, on the internet, off the internet. There are things that I should have done differently. And I really and truly hope that at the end of the day, all I can have done is learn from this and moving forward. And it's funny because I talk to my daughter openly about this. This is what has happened, and I try to at least explain to her, my truth. And I think it's important that all I can do to anyone else in this context is look at them and say, moving forward, it's hopefully something that I've learned from and that never happens again.
Kian, thank you for sharing that.
That's big.
That's amazing. And look, I'm gonna end it there.
The weight on your shoulders sometimes, as a public figure, Alex, is tremendous. He.
But I want to say, Jared, at the same time, I knew that getting into it. I cannot sit down here and pretend to be a victim. I can't pretend like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to do what I feel is right for Guyana, but at the same time, don't say nothing bad about me. That's not how it works, right? At the end of the day, if you believe, and I'll tell you this on the most cliche like premise, the fact of the matter is, if I want to make the real change that I feel like it needs to be changed, sacrifices need to be made, and I'm putting myself out there and I'm trying to do something different, so I'm going to get pushback. If what I was doing was easy or in any way, shape, or form agreeable to everyone, then everyone would be doing it. You understand what I mean? I'm trying to do something that I feel is necessary to make Guyana a better place. And the fact of the matter is, there are people out there that wanted to stay just like this. That's the reality.
Can I just make one quick point though? That whole idea of making Guyana a better place, and we put a lot of onus on the government to make that happen. A lot of that is like a cultural shift as well, and that starts with people changing themselves, and it's just as uncomfortable as emotional introspection. You know, it's very similar to that.
Yeah.
I don't think we have enough respect for this country. I don't think we have enough respect for the flag. I don't think we have enough respect for authority. I see things that people do every single day, and I know that when they travel abroad or when they go live abroad, they don't do those things. And it goes back to a very, very simple disrespect of the country, and we need to stop that, because the world is looking at us and the globe is looking at us, and they define us based on the people. They define a country based on the people. And when expats and foreigners come to this country and they see Guyanese behaving a certain way, the public officials aside, forget the public officials. I'm talking about the citizens. I'm talking about the private sector. When we start behaving a certain way, they define us by that. And Guyana needs to wake up and realize who's looking at us, because it's the big boys now. It's not what we were accustomed to. It's not, a couple of people coming in. We've got real proper corporate entities looking at us and defining us based on our people. So, I think we need to start doing the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing, and not just doing the right thing because people are looking at us or people are judging us or people are watching us or wondering what people would think about us if we did the wrong thing. We need to start doing the right thing for the goddamn sake of it. And there's 750,000 of us. It's really, really easy to do it. We just need to have a collective mind and to have some respect for that flag and have some respect for this country and just follow the law.
But it'll never...
This is a hot topic in Guyana right now, okay? Of a narrative that's come forward that has said, I can wait to mix drinks. I go with mixed drinks. Trust me. I know what the priorities are around here.
We're listening.
Is there a podcast going on?
No, this is not Talk Local. We can take 2 seconds.
Talk, man. Talk.
Talk.
No. It's a. Well, let you finish. Because.
It's just the ice, really.
Yeah, I think it's. Yeah, I mean,
You best
Background noise?
can over your last one time.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to do. I don't.
Victoria,
I actually
have
want to
ice?
be a little specific to Vicky here, because this guy just mixed. As you can tell, I've only drank half of it, because you have to put chaser when you're mixing a drink. It's called a mixed drink.
What did we speak about last night?
Jared just
What
gave
did we
me
speak
a
about
big,
last night?
Huh?
What did we speak about with regards to chaser? You can't
I just want
dilute
some ice,
good
a
liquor.
squeeze
What
of
was the
lime,
last night, Jared? That
a
was
touch of rum and a little bit more
early
soda
today.
water.
That was
please.
you?
Whoa,
Was
whoa.
you?
no. Earlier today, he was giving me shit about, oh, you don't mix 15-year-old. You gotta enjoy it. And I'm like, okay, well, I drinking it with some soda and lime, and then he's like, all right, put a little soda.
What a hypocrite.
Eldorado 15-year-old on ice.
Look, I could drink it straight, bro. I
With
could
a
drink it
squeeze
straight,
of lime.
but I just start
No,
off
but the lime,
with a mixed
the
drink.
lime again. From the time you put any sort of other element of liquid or dilutant or whatever you want, you are tainting it. So you can't say
You're accenting
15
it. I think you're accenting it.
No.
But if you're going to put
So hold
Coca-Cola,
on.
if you're going to put ginger ale, if you're going to put
So something with sugar. So soda water you're good with?
something artificially made.
So
Of
soda
course,
water's
he
a
good with
problem.
soda water because he drinking it down.
So it. No.
don't put plenty
What
soda
about
water.
coconut water? All right, what about coconut water, 15-year-old?
I've seen it done.
No, nobody has that. I asked your opinion on it.
That's getting bleeped out.
Bleep.
You wanted more more rum here?
Just a touch, just like a splash.
Kelsey likes vodka and coconut.
No, but here.
That's her
I don't
drink.
like that.
No, but at the end of the day, you know what my favorite thing about rum in Guyana is? Particularly our rum culture. I love that the world is like, 15-year-old is the best thing on earth, and Guyanese are like 12-year-old as we think. There's nothing more patriotic that I love more.
Because 12-year-old is the most economical thing you could buy. It's best bang for your
No,
buck.
5-year-old by far.
Bang for your buck, 12-year-old.
No.
You could drink 12-year-old straight, bro.
But I know enough people that drink 5-year-olds straight,
I'm
but
sorry,
it's
y'all
fact
are
matters.
comparing
The
apples
quality
and
of rum that
oranges.
5-year-old is, granted, not the best, but for the price, come on.
5-year-old is great. There's no
But for
dispute about that.
For the price?
For the price. But what I'm saying, okay, but 12-year-old is like, you've
Light years.
leveled up.
Yeah.
You've leveled up. That's what I'm saying. So bang for your buck.
Yeah, but we start drinking at what, like
If you- okay,
14,
depends on-
15 here?
What is
By
your-
the time
what is
we
your-
reach 25, we start drinking 12.
You think
What is your
the
objective?
difference is
What
is
is-
a price comparison? You think
No.
because 15
But this is the difference. What is your objective by drinking? Is it to just get drunk or party, or to enjoy a smooth liquor? If you're
Well, it depends. No? It depends on the situation.
It depends on how old, but that's what I'm saying with the age thing. So from like,
So
again,
Jared would like the
not,
12.
not, yeah, no, he's at like 20, he's like 50-year-old now. No, what's saying is, when we start drinking in Guyana, again, which is like
Two
14,
corkball
15,
rum telling me about
let's be
50, yeah.
realistic. You
Yeah,
start
you're
drinking
a white
5-year-old.
label.
Everyone in Guyana starts drinking 5-year-old. That's our first thing we start drinking. That's what we know. Okay? Everyone in Guyana starts drinking El Dorado 5-year-old. And we drink that until we change the reason we're drinking. So we drink, we El Dorado 5-year-old to while out ourselves. We go in the club, we buy 3 bottles, we get drunk, we enjoy ourselves. Right? Because it can only cost me what? $3,000 a bottle. Right? But, well, back in the day, sorry, I'm showing my age now. It's like $8,000 a
You
bottle
paid
now.
$3,000 a bottle.
Not
for
even.
5-year-old.
No. I started off by paying $1,500 a bottle. Anyway, moving on from that, right? And that was with the markup of the bar, because that's when El Dorado used to sell for $700
when I
in the
left
supermarket.
university, when I left
times.
university, Banks beer was $80. In 1999, Banks beer was $80. Now
That's when
before
he left for high school,
Right.
Alex.
So before you all start to make fun of me for being old, I want you to consider the inflation considerations on a locally produced product that is heavily, heavily protected, where the cost of the inputs have not increased significantly, but the
Correct.
price has.
Agreed.
So, before all the sniggering
There
happens
are
about being older, one of
Go
the
ahead.
things we need to understand is I left University of Miami 20 years ago. So from 20 years ago, the unit price went from $80 to, what is it now, $300?
for
320,
banks.
thereabouts.
$320? No, what's the case? Yeah, 300. What's the case price per case
Sorry, I
price?
think it's 240 for
So
one.
so $80 for a Banks beer was the street price. It wasn't their wholesale price. It wasn't distributor price, which would have gone down even more. That was the street price for a Banks beer, and we refused to pay $100 for a Banks beer when the price went up to $100. We used to search around the country strictly out of principle, and that was 20 years ago. So I want you to put into perspective, over 20 years, this product, which has no real competition because it's heavily protected, has tripled in price over 20 years.
But cost has gone up a little bit.
What
Labor
cost?
cost has gone up. Electricity cost has definitely gone up. Maybe taxes not so much. I'll
So
give
you
that.
think a 200%?
But hold on. There's importation parts of this as well. They still have to bring certain aspects, even down to the corks.
They come
even
in
down to the
duty-free.
labels. No, but the cost from where they're bringing it in, where it's manufactured somewhere else in the world, the shipping has gone up, their manufacturing costs have gone up. So costs have gone up a little bit. But granted, maybe not as much as, we're paying.
What were we talking about?
No,
before?
yeah. I was going to say
No
the hot
idea,
topic
man.
in Guyana about government dependency and people feeling like the government owed them something, right? So my topic on this, my opinion on this topic is that the first thing, I think both of you have had the conversation, both of you have given your input on, Alex said, well, people need to understand that, we shouldn't be this government dependent, you individualistic, find your opportunities.
I agree.
And there, Jared agrees with that concept. And let me tell you, and I'm going to, please don't scream bananas. I'm going to be a little political here for a second.
Can I just guess what you're going to say? You're going to say that they are, which is the argument I considered, but if we had to make this argument on everything, we really couldn't discuss anything.
Go ahead.
But Jared was saying that we need to act a certain way and move a certain way because where Guyana is going in terms of its development, there are big players watching on and coming in. Well, I think the public argument would be like, well, there's a lot of poor people who can't even, get a seat at that table to even have the opportunity to be able to act or move that way. So we need to consider them. And that will always be the argument. So I think that's where the impasse is. How do we connect? Sorry, I thought that was what you were going to bring up. I don't know if that is what you're going to talk about, but my thing is how would you connect the people who may not be as privileged and to catch up with where Guyana is going, for example. And I thought that's what you were going to say.
Completely wrong.
I think you're wrong too.
I in no way, shape, or form is that what I'm
We
gonna
can
say.
talk about
because
that,
that's
though.
the general
That's
argument.
solid. Like keep that, and like we can circle back on that. But that's solid.
Because
if
that's
you
the
wanna,
general argument.
Yeah.
The minute we put this up, they're gonna say, "Look at these three idiots sitting in a room, having a drink and talking like they know what's going on. What about this and it's always about what about ism."
Oh Lord, you know what? One of the
so-
problems with these podcasts.
Sorry,
are,
I read it.
but one of the sorry, but
This guy probably
I'll
was like,
absolutely
let me
let
guess what
Kian-
you're gonna say.
Dude, don't lose your train of thought. Keen, don't lose your train of thought. But one of the things I was gonna say is with things like podcasts and comments on social media, what you get is you get the peanut gallery. You get the armchair activists and the armchair economists and the armchair social commentaries coming down on you for something that you said, perhaps not in the context that they
No, for sure.
intended.
That's the contract you signed doing this.
But it must. I think people need to start to bridge the understanding that this is three guys sitting down chatting, brother. I am, well, maybe he is, but I'm not a public figure.
No.
I'm not
Yeah,
in
100%.
any way, shape, or form capable of shaping public policy other than that one vote every 4 years.
Well, I have my opinions.
I'm gonna.
Sorry, go ahead,
I
Kian,
just
I'm
want to
sorry.
circle back. I'm gonna hit 2 points here. I'm going to circle back on the point that I said earlier. That you guys are sitting here wondering why politicians take it personally, why you're so scared to speak, because, oh my gosh, if the government hear me, they're going to victimize me. It's because, at the end of the day, because of the size of Guyana, your little opinion that you keep thinking is just three guys, chatting here, the fact of the matter is, it will have an influence on other people, okay? We are so small of a society that... And I know they say this all over the world, every single vote counts. Well, guess what? It is 10 times more relevant here. 10 times, 100 times. We are a village. You and the three of us sitting here, I guarantee you, every politician in this country knows that the people that are watching this right now, 1, 2, maybe let me say 3 of them out of the thousands.
There's more than 3 people
No,
watching.
I'm saying out of the thousands that are watching. The fact of the matter is, maybe 3 of their votes might change because of this conversation. And that's what they're scared of. So believe it or not, those 3 votes that you guys might be influencing is a big deal to every single politician in this country. So stop questioning
why
why our little opinions are so important.
Let me just
Still
let me just make it very clear that I'm not trying to change anyone's vote. That's not my intention.
Are you sure?
I'm 100% sure.
I think we're keen.
I'm going to ask you what you vote. Nah, joking.
You know what you and me talked about the other night, Alex, and I said I think politicians are like rock stars to me. It's like Rihanna and Jay-Z. They're not real people to me because I don't actually feel, and this is 4 to 2, turning 4 to 3, 20 years in this country, brother. I've been to every single region there is. I've worked in a lot of sectors in this country. And I firmly believe that I don't personally have a lot of say into what politicians do. And I would like to live in the Guyana where I can wake up and work every single day, go to work, earn a living without have to worrying about politics or without have to be involved in politics. I would like to be divorced from politics and let the politicians do the politicking. Me, as a private sector individual, dude, I just want to concentrate on providing jobs and making money for myself. But I
But you just said providing jobs. You've already contradicted this, right? Because
How
at the
is
end
that
of the day,
contradictory?
because those couple people that you're about to hire, you're going to have an influence over. So you're going to have political relevance. Okay? And that's the problem with this.
How does me hiring people give me political relevance?
Because all of a sudden you're their bread source. You are the source of their food on their plate.
How is
so
that
guess
political?
what? Your input matters in their lives.
How is that political?
Because at the end of the day, the fact that you have that political power, and this is
What political power?
Hold on, wait. Let me tell you what I'm saying. The fact that you can have that political relevance is what politicians in this small society are scared of. So let me explain that more. And this is a rule I want everyone to understand when it comes to politics or even growing up or becoming like successful in society here. You want to know the truth? The truth is, until you're a threat in Guyana, you really have no protection or relevance. And what you become, the more successful you become, by hiring people and growing your business, you become a threat.
I disagree
Because you
completely.
have no. You are saying that because you're putting yourself in. Stop being selfish. Stop thinking about yourself. Kian, I don't care about politics. I just want to become successful and not be a threat. It's not about what you want. It's about what you have, even though you didn't try to earn it.
So my
Right? So if you
contribution to
wait
society.
now, wait
Let
now.
me finish.
If you build a company and you become wildly successful and you hire 1,000 people, guess what? That means there's 1,000 people out there that are going to listen to their boss man that say, hey, y'all see the party PPP or the party PNC over there? Don't vote for them. Them ain't doing no good for we. And guess what? You now have control over 1,000 votes.
I've worked with several companies in this country, and I've never experienced.
Again,
corporate
you keep
management.
talking about yourself. I'm telling you,
Have you been
how
in a
this
position
country
working for?
works.
Have you been in a position where you've worked for someone and they have dictated to you who to vote for?
No, but
Do you have an example of someone
hold on.
who's-
I have worked for companies in Guyana that have had a political preference.
Right, but
Okay?
have you? Do you
And all
have
of a sudden, hold on, they launch a new business, and all of a sudden, the political leaders of one party come and start shaking hands and so on. You don't see nobody from the other side. So guess what? Even though they might not be standing up on a stage in front of their employees screaming, vote for this party or vote for that party, they are saying, hey, come, take a tour of my facility. Come meet all my 1,000 employees and have a personal connection with
They
them.
might have influence, Kian, but they don't take away autonomy from the individual.
yeah.
No, but hold on. You see, this is what we're getting messed up with. So, and it's gonna and actually, I'd like to please circle back to the point I was trying to make on the topic 8 topics ago. All right, was why do people feel that the government has this relevance on their success and how much they are going to be able to contribute? So now let me explain this. The reason that the average Guyanese doesn't have any kind of, hope that one government or the next is going to make their lives better is because the other political party has convinced them that they are the ones that are going to make their lives better. So they filled them with hope. All right? So, you know why people always in this country, every budget, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see budget like nowhere else in the world. I need to see what the budget is going to have because I feel like it's going to make my life better. It's because every day, every election cycle, every year, every possible opportunity, the politicians in this country with the 2 big parties walk around and say, if you vote for me, I can make your life better. If you vote for me, I can put more money in your pocket. And guess what? You have now convinced me to vote for you because you've told me my life is going to be better. But now that you're in power, my life is not better. So don't blame me for getting disappointed and angry with you. So when I sit there and I mean this in the nicest way, not to offend anyone, when I sit there with not as much education as I should have as a Guyanese, or not as much exposure as I should have as a Guyanese, you cannot be upset that I am upset that I'm not happy with where my life is going after you came here and sat in this bottom house meeting or sat in my village and told me if I vote for you, my life can be better. Don't tell me that people should not feel dependent on the government when the government has convinced them to be dependent on them.
I feel like it's a personal choice, though. And my personal choice is not to be dependent.
It absolutely is a personal choice. There's no question about that. But at the end of the day, guess what? Majority of Guyanese do not have that personal choice.
That's not
Because
bad.
they're living in a little village, or they're uneducated, or they're underexposed, or they don't know what else opportunities there are. And guess what? All they can hear is from the government media houses and the opposition media houses. Oh gosh, what chances we got here? Well, the government says there are plenty of opportunities. Well, where did they? I gotta wait for the government to come and give me 2 goats. or I gotta come and hope for the government to give me some land to plant something, or I gotta hope the government drop PAY so my salary raises. Please.
But Kian, that's ultimately though, that like Jared said, that's on them. I mean, that's on all of us. You know,
it is.
Nobody's forcing
That's
them.
the system. Like, you know, that's just
Nobody's forcing anyone.
But they are.
But let me tell you something.
They are being
Pardon.
forced to
Hold
pay.
on, but let me tell you something.
Taxes
They're
that
being
are outrageous.
forced- they're being
How about
forced-
the rich
one
people
second.
conversation? We are being forced to pay all this duty on vehicles
No.
just so we could drive a nice vehicle.
Right,
so
right,
why
Kian.
that's being forced on us?
Kian.
They're not giving us any breaks or making our lives better.
right. No, they're not. Well,
Okay.
it's not, and it's hard for sure across the
The
board.
vehicle taxes, by the way, are repercussions of IDB and IMF regulations that were put on Guyana for austerity. When we were borrowing money left, right, and center, the borrowers came back and said, no problem, we'll lend you this money, but you need to understand that you need to put measures in place for austerity, and you can't be having luxury vehicles on the road. You can't be having luxury anything on the road. You know why? Because you need to pay back this loan. Those are all trickle
I don't know
down.
where you got that from, but that still doesn't answer why it's there in 2024 when we are an oil-rich
was
country.
just
Because we
mentioning.
didn't have oil. Kian, there was a Guyana pre-oil.
Okay,
There
we've
we-
had oil now
there was
for
a-
how
there-
many
hold on.
years?
No.
What's your excuse
We've
now?
had oil for 5 years,
Guys,
buddy.
I was much happier when we were talking about smuggling cocaine and cutting holes in pumpkins. We just couldn't stay away from that.
No, but you guys are jerks.
We always find ourselves, and then you just sort of lost it for a second. We had to stop to calm you down,
And mix a drink.
pat your head with water. We had to
They're
put
not- they
Dettol.
didn't see that,
We
right?
had to put some
Bring the lime
lime on his head.
The viewers didn't see that, you know?
Yeah.
You get pink when you get worked up.
I'm passionate. We are, I'm telling you.
You see? Remember
It's
I told you?
important to me.
Yeah, he did say this.
You guys think I'm in politics because I'm bored? I actually care a little bit, you
Yeah.
know.
Sometimes it seems so.
Kian, you mustn't feel away. You mustn't feel away when I say that I'm apolitical. And it doesn't mean I don't care.
No.
What it means is
I
that
know you
I
care.
have. What it means is that I have different priorities, and I realize where my skills lie in life. My skills don't lie in politics. My interests don't lie in politics.
No, but you're allowed an opinion. Always remember that. I
But
will
when-
never take anyone's opinion personally.
Whenever Jared's in a problem in his relationship, he says he's apolitical.
I
really-
got you.
It's not attached to one thing or the other. It's just
So-
who he is.
Yeah.
Jen and I were talking in the car today, and we were talking about conflict resolution in relationships.
Ooh, very good
So
convo.
Kelsey and
Tell me.
I've been dating. This can make 5 years for Kelsey and I.
Does
And,
she know that? No, joking. Go on.
I would be lying to say that we didn't have disagreements and we didn't have up and downs, but I think how I deal, what we were talking about earlier, how I deal with conflict and how I deal with disagreements is a lot different to how I dealt with it 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Having that,
I don't
just
care
having
attitude.
that, well,
an extent. That's what it boils down to.
but there are still issues and there are still times when I'm a miserable old man and this is what I don't like and this is what I'm not doing, and she respects that. And I also understand that there's things that she's like, nope, I ain't doing it, and I respect that. And
Yeah.
the ability to respect your partner and not have you don't have to do everything together. You don't have to agree on everything. You don't have to have similar interests, you know, but I don't think one person is any less for having a different interest than you do, and I think that's what makes relationships a lot of fun. I think there are synergies, and then there's stuff that you disagree on. But going back to conflict resolution, I grew up in a household. My parents split when I was 14, and I grew up in a
We
household.
all came from split households. That's so interesting.
Yeah. But I grew up not seeing physical violence, but seeing verbal abuse, seeing the back and forth screaming, and that shit is damaging.
But hold on, I want to say something. You know, I think this is such a hot topic. All of us came up from families that have been divorced, right? I like this conversation. How has this divorce affected us in our relationships, in our
I think it
our
really
lives?
for me, it
You got
has an
another hour
impact.
at tape here? Jesus Christ, this is a
So
rabbit
it
hole.
has an impact, you know, and I think especially with men who are, if you want to make it work, you definitely have to sort through that in some form or fashion, you know, and I think it just, again, and it's not to say that there are bad things that are happening. It's just conflict resolution. It's do I just, you know, call it here? Like, what is this bringing back for me? And sort of getting into that is messy, but
Yeah.
it's something that I think is worth working through. That's
No,
something I learned about myself, I think.
Wait, you brought it up earlier in the conversation with regards to, as a man, there's certain things that I don't want to divulge that deep into. You were talking about, was it conflict resolution? What was it?
Emotional introspection, love language.
Love language. And you're like, I just don't want to look at that side of me. And society has dictated, hey, use a man, man up, do the manly thing. And it even doubles back into the conversation we had even earlier about social media. And, we talk about, social media and the influences it has and, the negative impacts it potentially has. But it also has so many, like, phenomenal attributes of communication and relationship building in the context of sometimes you just like kind of like scrolling through and then you're like, you read something from like a random person on Facebook or like, or on TikTok or whatever. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's my life. I fully connect to that. And you get that whole, wait a second, there's other people dealing with this. And what I like about that is not that, oh my gosh, it puts you in this echo chamber and it's like, oh, I'm going to just circle myself with people that are like me and, we're just going to, fill each other's heads with nonsense. But what I like about that concept is that for those that are able to do it, for those that kind of can take 2 steps back, it kind of goes, maybe your problems are not the biggest in the world and, fully like stuck on you. There
this
are other
big
people.
thing I had on my chest is not just me dealing with it.
I've been through it. There are other people that have been through it and they survived and they were good. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I think it's something it's almost like a muse of mine is I always find it amazingly interesting how much similarities all of us have in our lives when it comes to our experiences, and at the same time simultaneously believe that we're all like super duper unique. I like the idea that somebody comes to you and is like, oh my God, you can't believe what I went through. My parents were divorced. And then I sat down there and went, mine too? Yours too? Yeah? All you guys went through divorce?
Wait till you get to my age.
Yeah.
Shared experiences. And I think this is something in Guyana that we need to push, especially amongst men, young men. We need to have more collective groupings of young men to show young men how to behave and how to act and how to be good gentlemen. Because I think we owe it to our brother. I mean, we spoke about this earlier, but being your brother's keeper. But I think there's a lot of values that persons would have missed out on growing up because of the structure of their household. Perhaps they weren't exposed to certain things, whether it be from a religious background, whether it be from an educational background, whether it be from a strong social background. You come from a family that's matriarchal. I come from a family that's matriarchal. You come from a family that's matriarchal. Where were the dads? Where were the male figures in it? They were busting their ass working, trying to make a living. So I think a lot of traits that should have been passed down or passed around from guy to guy. Me speaking personally, I didn't get it from dad because dad was out working. Where I got it from was uncles, was friends' parents, was girlfriends' parents, was, Uncle Andrew and Auntie Lana. I latched onto them real early.
What traits are you talking about?
Boy, just in terms of being a man, in terms of being a good guy, a good man, patience, tolerance, understanding, compassion, empathy. I didn't learn that. The traits I learned as a guy, as a man, was overt masculinity. Was you had to stand up in the sawmill and scream at your workers. That's how business was back then. You were this big, strong, intimidating businessman that everybody was afraid of because you used to make a lot of money, but you used to cuss down management. That needs to change. I think we as Guyanese need to up the level of sophistication of our private sector and get to where Trinidad and Jamaica and Cayman Islands are. Because, dude, if you see how those boys operate over there, this is cake shop. This is sweetie shop that we're doing over here. I guarantee you.
Why is it a cake shop? Why is it a sweetie shop?
Because we choose to keep things a cake shop. That is why. Because we refuse to get into joint ventures and we refuse to embrace public equity and we refuse to embrace partnerships because...
Get deeper.
Because we're stuck in a mindset that this must be mine, that I need to own 100% of $1 million company instead of 50% of a $50 million company. You with me? Guyanese can't quite grasp the concept of expanding their business.
You're still not going deeper. You tell me a symptom. I want you to tell me, okay, why does a Guyanese feel like 100?
Into it here,
You
like
have
she
to.
got me on the couch.
But you have to. That's how you solve the problem.
Please no name references.
But sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
no more
like,
names.
like a therapist drilling down. What do you want to know specifically?
I want to know why you believe that businessmen here appreciate $1 million, 100% of $1 million business more than they appreciate 50% of a $50 million business.
I don't think appreciate is the word that I would use, but I think Guyanese sometimes think they have this $1 million idea and they're not going to share it with anybody because people are going to go and steal their idea and make big business off of it instead of embracing a partnership or embracing shared equity and trying to get their project off the ground.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying. What Kian is probably getting at is that that's how it's always been, is that once you can get in, you got the contract, that it's all yours. The whole pie is yours to figure out what you want. And then the standard drops because you're guaranteed the market share of whatever you're into. And that's the kind of culture that we've sort of perpetuated.
What I was talking about is Guyanese not expanding their businesses and restructuring so they can get to the level of sophistication that the Jamaicans and the Caymans are at.
Yeah, but if you have the market share on something, why do you need to even improve any quality of whatever you're doing?
Which Guyanese company has market share on anything?
Well,
End of conversation. All I'm saying is the market that we speak about is infinite. It is massive. And the locally produced products barely leave Guyanese shores. We've got what products leave our shores?
Why don't products leave our shores?
Because we don't manufacture to the capacity that we should.
Why don't we manufacture the capacity we should?
Cost of energy.
So you see, it always really boils down to understanding. And when you're in business, you figure this out, that there are certain controls and restrictions in place that no matter how big you get or how big your ideas are, there's a limitation until somebody, and again, I hate doing this, but I have to, scream bananas all I want. At the end of the day, the truth is, there's something that's stopping you that you have to hope somebody gives you a, hey, all right, man, let he go
The
through
only thing
it.
stopping you is you, brother.
do you think it's...
I'm about to- because-
sorry, before we just get too deep into that.
Well, I was about to, he asked you a question about business, and I'm about to ask you the same question about business in Guyana. Name one business that has become independently successful without government favor. Well, that's it.
Sorry,
We're gonna cut
sorry.
that. Go ahead.
Hold on a second.
Let me ask my question.
I don't think it's necessarily fair. I think there's a lot of businesses in this
let
country.
me ask
that
my
we
question. Let me
say-
ask my question
Go
that
ahead,
will
go ahead.
play into this,
All right.
right? As businessmen, right? Solely as entrepreneurs, businessmen, do we have to play the game to be successful?
No.
The game being, we have to make our connections. We have to play to the political climate involved, and we have to, I'm not going to say compromise on our values, because I think that we don't have to compromise on values, but we have to play ball with the environment that we're given. The market of business here is not that you can just go in with good intentions, good idea, and good work ethic and be successful and be at the top. I personally don't believe that you can. So, and I personally will say that if I solely cared about my bottom line and about being the best, I'm playing ball. Like, it's as simple as that.
100%.
It's just that's just how I see it, and that's how it is
agree.
in my
And when
world.
your team isn't playing anymore, what do?
But that's the thing.
You play all right. So you play
So let me
ball with
finish,
them,
let me finish.
and then they are voted out.
Let me finish.
What do you do?
Let me respond to that. So, if I know I have to get to the top, and I have to commit to one side, that's a risk I have to take. I'm not saying this is what I'm going to do. I'm just saying this is my intention, right? If that's my goal, I accept that I have to do that. And I have to live with the consequences that if the side that I pledge allegiance to gets voted out, I have to live with those consequences. I can also play ball without overly committing. I don't have to go and give a blood oath to one political side. You know, I can move in the direction that government is. That's fine. I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. Just because you operate in the system that's there means you're one side or the other. It's just, but there's some compromises you have to make. You have to get involved somehow. You can't be totally independent and be at the top of your industry. I think that's impossible.
So you think the only way to make it in industry in this country is with a political connection? Is that what you're saying?
With some sort of
To the
connection,
top of your
100%.
industry, yes.
I think you're absolutely wrong.
Oh, hold on.
I think the quick way to make money is with a political
You
connection.
still haven't-
but it's not
you
the
can't
only
give
way.
Any
Well, I will say,
Okay, go ahead.
I will say that your product or service can't be dog shit. You know what I
You know
mean?
what-
You can't.
You know what's funny,
You
Alex?
have to. You
know
still
what's
have
funny?
to be good at what you do.
We look at people in Guyana who have money because they're flashy on social media and because they're rolling in fancy cars and they've got fancy houses and we're like, these are the rich people. You know what Guyanese don't know? That there's people on the road every single day controlling massive amounts of capital. Now, I'll give you an example. Did I tell you this story? Went into the bush the other day with a business associate. And I won't tell you his name. I won't tell you his race. I don't tell you where he's from. Went into the bush the other day with his
No,
business
you don't want to call
associate.
people name.
You wouldn't know his name if I said it was.
Cut.
And you wouldn't either.
Go ahead.
And y'all would pass this man on the street every single day in his short pants and rubber slippers. You wouldn't know who he is. You don't know what he has. I driving up the bank the other day. I pass Supply. He's got an outlet there that he's renting from one of his buddies. Gone up to Linden. He's got an outlet there. He's renting from one of his
You're
buddies.
very quickly giving away who this
Gone
person
into
is.
No, you
Stop with the
have
details.
no idea who this person is. None of y'all would even guess for
So
a
the
lifetime.
person has multiple outlets around Guyana. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But the outlets are rented from his friends. And if he stops to buy gas, he buys it from his friend. And if he stops to buy rations, he buys it from his friend. And if he stops to buy tooling, he buys it from his friend. Now, cash in passing.
This person sounds very Chinese.
Cash in
That's it.
passing. I didn't want to say that on the air.
Finish.
When people start to understand the type of money that those guys are throwing around with no political connection whatsoever, you will second guess any commentary that you have to make on making money with political
I can
gain.
easily. Wait,
Because you know how those guys made their money?
Go ahead.
They made their money the same way China made their money, with deals.
I
They
love
make deals and they structure deals and they make money and they make a lot of it.
Jared, let's have a frank, complete conversation about this. I ask you right now. You think that person paying taxes on every dollar they're making?
I do because he took in the auditor.
Jared.
I was there with an auditor. It was me and the
then
auditor.
Guess what? Guess what I know for a
Kian,
fact? That man ain't making that much money.
you have audited
He making as
accounts?
much money as the Trinis.
Do you have audited
We can talk about throwing around what? 1, 2, 3 million US dollars.
Do you have audited
Because if
accounts?
we think that's real money, the fact of the matter is we not
Kian.
even
Guys, I
playing
don't
in
want
the
us to
Trinidad game.
descend into something that
No.
we don't want to
But
go
Guyanese do not keep accounts. They don't have audited
Okay,
accounts.
so can
I was sitting in the car with his auditor. He was taking his auditor into
doesn't mean he's
the
paying
Make
taxes.
the point. Wait,
course
make
it
the
does.
point, Jared. Make the point you're gonna make because I wanna.
The point I'm trying to make is the Guyanese don't take care of Guyanese. Guyanese think that foreigners are coming to this country to make us rich. Foreigners aren't coming to this country to make us rich. Foreigners are coming to this country to get rich with our help. If we want to get ourselves rich, we need to start empowering other Guyanese the same way my friend the other day is empowering his friends to get rich, and they are getting very, very rich. But you know what Guyanese problems are? Guyanese like to shit talk other Guyanese. Guyanese like to dog on other people's business. If Kian makes one bad taco one day, he gets blasted on social media and everybody will come down on him. You will stand in line at KFC every single week and they're going to screw you on your finger licking sauce. They don't have zingers. They don't have this. They don't have that. You know what? You're going to go back the very, very next week. Make Kian make one bad taco. Make New Thriving make one bad. New Thriving is a bad example. Make another locally owned business. Make one mistake and they are blasted. But if the foreigners come, they do what they want, man, and we keep running back to them. When we as Guyanese start to build buoyancy at the bottom with our friends, with our colleagues, with other Guyanese and keep the money locally, that's when you're going to see society start to build up. But if we continue to prostrate ourselves to foreigners, thinking these foreigners are coming here to make us rich, brother man, we're just going to be working for a foreigner for the rest of our lives.
But hold on, I need to weigh in because I going back to excuse me, Alex's point is the fact that how can I get to the top of my industry without How can I getting back to Alex's point? How can I get to the top of my industry unless I'm playing the game? Okay, that's what it is. And Alex
Just
said,
do the right thing.
you see, Jared, this
It takes longer. You think you're not getting there. You think you're not getting there because you're seeing other people that are playing the game racing past you. But you don't see those
No,
guys.
Jared,
But you don't see
you're
those
not
guys.
understanding. I don't think you're wrapping your head around this. Okay? Some people that own their own business, he's make videos for a living, I make tacos for a
H&L
living.
Kissoon was registered in 1967.
It doesn't matter what your family has done. As the owner, as the face, as the man who doing it, as the man who involved in everything and makes every single decision myself. The fact of the matter is, Jared, I'll tell you right now, I run a successful business. I'll tell you that right off the bat. My business is not in debt. My business is comfortable. We making money. Okay? How much money I'm making? I ain't about to go and buy no Prado anytime soon.
You're making a lot of money. Your business is
just
doing
going
well.
to tell you, my business is making enough money. My business is making
Successful
enough money.
is subjective.
It's subjective. My
But
business is making
in your
enough.
opinion, you're running a successful
My
business.
business is not failing, so my business is successful. Is that enough?
But you don't have any political
My
connections.
business is not failing, so my business is successful.
But you don't have any political
And I'm
connections.
but I'm not finished
How
my
is it that
point.
you were able to build a thriving business
You're
without
not
these
letting
political
me finish my
connections?
point.
You guys are saying that is
you're
required.
not letting me finish, Jared.
Oh, sorry.
Okay? The fact of the matter is, if I wanted to actually get to the top of my industry, as Alex is stating in his topic, the fact of the matter is, I am going to need a government contract. I'm going to need duty-free concessions to bring in my equipment and delivery. I'm going to need, hold on, and I'll even give you a little further. I'm going to need a government friend that owns one of the big properties and key places to give me a bly, to give me the opportunity to put something there. But guess what? Me, because I'm, as the PPP or APNU like to say, you bad talking the government. No, I'm not bad talking the government, okay? Because there's lots of times that I've helped that same government. But the fact of the matter is, if me as a businessman want to reach my highest potential, if you understood all the systems and protocols in place, all the red tape, if you
Doing
will,
business in this
if
country
you
22 years,
understood all of it, all the bills, all the taxes, all right, all the GPL,
If you live
property
anywhere
tax.
else in the world, you'd have to pay them same
Guys,
taxes.
hold on 1 second, right? And I see where you're going, Kian, and I agree with you to an extent. Jared,
I disagree completely.
I know you disagree, so I'm kind of in the middle of you two. One is that to my point, I still say that to get to the top of the industry, you have to have connections. I'm not saying
Anywhere in the
I'm not
world.
saying the government.
Anywhere in the world.
So let me finish. I'm not saying the government's going to come and do everything for you. And yes, this is not a Guyana problem. This is everywhere in the world. This is a reality. Because Guyana, like you said, is so small that it's very prevalent who's getting what. And that's kind of the annoying part. Everybody feels jaded because
But
the
also
man,
the pie is very
the man
small.
next to you, the man next to you is getting it. You're not. The pie is very small. He's not doing the basic things you're required by law to do, right? So, and look, but in addition to that, Kian has a successful business. There's some people that don't want to be the top of the industry, and that's totally fine. As a matter of fact, I recommend that. You'd probably have a much happier life. The most successful people will tell you that.
Yeah.
Right? So it's really, we're not here to discuss it being like this big, hardship for everyone, because not everyone can be at the top. But we're just saying that it's there. And on that note, I want to pivot the conversation to something else, because this is going to turn up. It's going to end up being circular.
I'm not doubting that it's there, but what I'm saying is it's not the absolute.
No, it's not.
No, it's
And
not.
I'm saying that the narrative that we need to be pushing is that it's not the absolute. And we need to start encouraging business people to just do your business. Doing business in this country is like driving in this country. You're in your lane, you're stopping at the stoplight, you're signaling, and then you got minibuses in the bike lane overtaking into traffic, pacing past you, and you're sitting there in traffic for 4 to 5 minutes, cussing, because you're waiting and you're doing the right thing, but everybody else seems to be rushing in front of you and passing you and getting in front of you. But you know what, brother man? You can get where you're going. Stay in your lane, do the right thing, and get where you're going. That's the
why are
message
you
we
saying
need
you're
to
gonna get
pass
where you're
on.
going? That's the problem that we have. Any of us that strive for more, what has led you to convince me, saying it with such factual, tone, that I am going to get where I'm going? Just stay in your lane. Because that is never, sorry.
I don't know,
That's too strong of
a
word.
family business owned for 3 generations. That's what
You don't
that's
think
what
your
that's
family
what,
has at any point in time had to either shut their mouth on something they know is wrong,
Absolutely.
or on the other
Absolutely.
side played a little game and hope for government favor?
But
Have
never,
they had to do that?
But never once would they come out and say that's the route to success.
But again, you're missing
Never
the point.
once.
You're missing what I'm saying though. If you've had to have played the game, you just admitted they played the game.
Everybody played the game.
No, you see, that's what Alex and I are
But
saying.
they didn't make
What if
their
I don't
business
want
the
to play
game. But you can't make your business the game. If you're in a construction, hold on. If you're in a construction business and the only way you can get a contract is by knowing a minister, that's using the game. But however, if you're in construction and you need to get a permit,
Jared, you
and
put
you're-
money as the biggest priority. That's wrong.
You're not listening to me.
That's all you're doing is making money
Could
the
we
priority.
agree? Could we just agree to have difference of opinion? I don't want to get too lost in this.
Yeah.
Because then it goes off the rails,
I
and then there's not going to be a
Go ahead.
conclusive.
You can
point.
have me here as I completely disagree with the narrative.
That's fine, and I respect that. I respect that. Many of us
okay.
feel different. There'll be a whole subsection of society that'll come out and be like, "Well, y'all didn't even consider what these group of people are going
Yeah.
through." So, it
yeah.
doesn't make sense for us to have this conversation. I did enjoy it while it lasted. I ain't gonna lie.
Did you?
I did. But I find we're sort of breaching the lines of personal. Which I know we don't mind, but I don't want to get into all that because there's a lot of stakeholders involved.
You don't have to print it. You don't have to cut that.
Yeah,
you know?
no. Be a good journalist.
Are you a journalist?
No, a journalist is actually someone who Vicky was the definition.
Vicky and Stanley Cup.
Is that what you want to do? Do you want to get
No,
into journalism?
absolutely not.
Do you want to get
No,
into...
Absolutely not. I would like to end on one topic and then we could continue having our side discussions after. Guys,
What have you taken away from today?
No, wait.
thank you so much for coming and being a part of this discussion.
Thanks for having me.
As many times as this has descended into God knows what, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think this is what podcasts should be.
Yeah.
I think no discourse was lost on what we spoke about. I think we made a breakthrough as a group of men. And I just want to end this with one final question, which is, how do we feel as young men in business, trying to establish our own lives in a country booming with opportunity? What do we think? How do we feel about the next 5 to 10 years? That's what I want to end with.
How do you feel?
I feel optimistic. I feel, we talk about connections and having, I feel like, look, I think I'm in a position of privilege compared to people, as people above me are in privileged positions compared to me. So I don't want to get too caught up in all that. And I understand why people will get upset if I say something like that. But the reality is, like, I feel like I can keep my integrity and I can have a good life, but I can still use, if I know you who knows somebody that can get through a terribly bureaucratic system that doesn't work for the general public to get the life I want, I'm happy to do that, because that's just the environment we're in, unfortunately. And that's not up to me to change. I can't do that. So, but I'm optimistic. I feel like I can do what I want as long as I'm not hurting anybody, as long as I'm not ripping anybody off or just causing any sort of harm. I feel like I can attain the life that I want to have in Guyana. I think that we're finally at that point where that, to me at least, that seems like a possibility. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And, I feel like if you're not optimistic, how else do you survive in Guyana right now? Yeah. And that's kind of like my thing. And look, like, I know not everybody will feel that way. I admit that, but to me, it's necessary. And the people I love, I want to spend my time with them, and I want to have the life that I want, and that's that. I'm hopeful.
So I can jump in, Jared can tell you, but I can. The first thing I'll say is I'm exactly like you in the context of I'm very content. Okay, I don't need anything. There's nothing I'm wanting for. There's nothing I'm like, oh, I need a private jet. Oh, I need to be more wealthy. Oh, I need XYZ. I'm good with what I have right now. I'm going to say that again, very cautiously, because I know a lot of people might, sit down there and say, wow, that's really super privileged to say. And again, I can use the argument where there's people more privileged than me, but that's not the point, right? At the end of the day, for us to find happiness, again, with the very normal cliche saying, for us to find happiness, it has to be in contentment, because there'll always be something that we want more. There's always be something that we feel we need. But the truth is, whatever we have, the fact of the matter is, if we have the very basic necessities, health, food on our table, head over our, shelter over our head, the fact of the matter is, we should feel, privileged and content. And I'm like yourself. I do feel that. I am also very cautiously optimistic about Guyana in the next 10 years. I think if I wasn't optimistic about it, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing in the realm of politics. I think every Guyanese should understand that at the end of the day, we've hit the lottery here. It is free money. Like, just because of God-given natural resource, we are like, wow, we have the ability to do so much more in the country now, to grow to a certain level, to, get educated on different things, to become, exposed, whatever it is that people, hold value to. But I think it's something that I think all of us need to understand is something we all have to participate in creating. If we're going to sit down idly at the side and think that, oh, don't worry, everything is just going to happen and it's going to work out perfectly. I guess it's the same conversation as the government isn't here to do everything. The truth is, the government still does work for us, and we have to make sure that they're doing what's best for us. I'm not saying become a politician, but at least at bare minimum, make sure that you at least are lending your voice to the conversation. Make sure at least you're stating, okay, I'm really happy with where this is going. Make sure you throw the compliments on. Make sure you encourage the direction you want us to go in with positivity. But at the same time, make sure that you're also part of the system of accountability. We've hit the lottery. Just think of yourself as working or have shares in a company that just, had a huge contract, has now won, hundreds of millions of dollars. The company is poised to grow, but you have to make sure that the company is growing in the right direction that will benefit all the employees, not just stolen by the board of directors, if you will. You know what I mean? And I think that's what everyone needs to wrap their head around. Get more involved, make sure you are more there and ready, because our children are dependent on this. The money that we make, and I'm sorry guys, Jared, just to jump on your bandwagon, the three of us, we are old, okay? We are past our prime, if you will. Okay? Get over it.
I know getting started.
Alex can't even exercise without taking 8 days off now, right? This was a real athlete, like a professional athlete. No, it's just like if we go drinking. I can't drink right now 2 days in a row, boss. But nonetheless, it's right there. It's in front of us, guys. Little things like this, I'm sorry, as much as we're on camera here, I know everybody in Guyana is having these conversations off camera, and it's just super important that you make sure that at the end of the day, I know the fear is there, I know there's worry with what Guyana was in the past. We all just got to make sure that we're participating in our children's future. Jared,
what was the question?
Oh shit.
How do you feel about the next 5 to 10 years?
5 to 10? Hard to say. I think in some aspects I'm optimistic. In some aspects I'm absolutely terrified. In terms of what's coming, we've never been short of resources in this country. We've never been short of opportunity to exploit resources in this country. The problem is that we're at the bottom of the supply chain when it comes to the real money that's involved with our natural resources, whether it's timber, gold, bauxite, and oil. We're right down at the bottom of the barrel. And you need to start getting involved, like he said, and grab their piece of the pie, because no one's going to hand it to you. No one's going to give it to you. As much as you bitch and whine and complain, it's not going to come to you on a platter, and people are going to come in front of you and eat your lunch, So yeah, going back to that, this is home, bro. Always has been, always will be. Kelsey told me that the other day. As much as I bitch and whine and complain and cuss, this is home. And I'm at 42 years of age, I'm not prepared to be an immigrant in somebody else's country when I've got the bounty available for us right here. So I think it's a matter of private sector individuals reaching out and grabbing for what's there. And there's a lot there, but people just need to be dynamic about what they're doing and don't follow the crowd. Try to be innovative. Try to, think outside the box. Try to find the frontier that nobody's found before. So yeah, I think we got a fun couple of years in front of us to see how this thing plays out. But we never been short of cash, Never been short of cash. We short of management.
On that note, fellas, appreciate you guys. And you're really good men for coming on and
Thanks for the rum.
trying to hold on to certain
Not rum. Thanks for the
boundaries and discuss like topics and open up. And thank you so much. This is really what makes the platform what it is. So hope to see you soon. We should do this more often.
Thanks for having us.
Holy.